Cretaceous, from Tyrannosaurus Rex to WarGreymon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Seafood Buffet, Sword Shooting Fish. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. Chu Xu automatically ignored the pterosaurs and birds circling high in the sky. The pterosaurs were mainly Quetzalcoatlus laurii, which was less than half the size of Quetzalcoatlus noir that Chu Xu had killed before. The birds were mainly fish birds, and their size and habits were very similar to those of the later seagulls. Both were in the sky and would only dive into the sea when fishing. It was too difficult and energy-consuming to hunt them, and the gains would not outweigh the losses. So Chu Xu's main target was the fish in the shallow sea. Chu Xu took a step and slowly stepped into the sea. The breeze was not dry, and the sea water was slightly cool. As Chu Xu went deeper, it gradually submerged from his feet to his chest. At this time, with a hollow structure of the skeleton, his heavy body was able to float on the sea. The principle is also very simple. The skeleton determines whether the density of the animal's body is greater than that of the seawater, and the hollow skeleton can effectively reduce the average density of the whole body, so that even a huge tonnage like the Tyrannosaurus Rex can easily float in the water. Then, Chu Xu's telepathic perception reached its limit, covering a radius of 1 kilometer. All kinds of information signals were automatically compiled into a three-dimensional topographic map, and any movement within the range could not escape his perception. In the ocean, the most common life is not only fish, but also ancient animals such as turtles, shrimps and crabs, gastropods, clams, and cephalopods. The most iconic of them is the ammonite. In the Mesozoic era, the prosperity of ammonites was almost everywhere in the seas of the world, so it was called the Sea of Ammonites. The appearance of ammonites is similar to that of nautilus, with a hard shell on the outside and a soft body inside the shell. The size varies, from a small one of only a few centimeters to a large one of up to 2 meters. The shapes are also varied, triangular, conical, and spiral. They swim slowly in the seawater, relying on spraying water from the body to propel themselves forward. For most marine predators, they are simply easy food. Chu Xu was no exception. He just shook his dragon body, and the aura of the king formed by the king's talent leaked out and spread, as if an invisible net covered a group of ammonites that were slowly wandering nearby. These weak and low-level ammonites seemed to be cast with a spell of immobilization, and they were stunned and frightened in place. Shoo! Then, Chu Xu held his breath and dived into the water. He opened his mouth wide and easily ate one ammonite after another, big and small. As long as the hard shell on the outside is broken, the soft body inside is very crisp and refreshing. As expected, the taste of seafood is delicate and delicious. At the same time, a series of system prompts lingered in Chu Xu's ears. Ling. You hunted an ammonite, evolution point +1. Comma, Ling. You hunted an ammonite, evolution point +2. Comma, just in the range of Chu Xu's perception, there are hundreds of dazzling ammonites. Although the evolution points of each are not many, it is also a considerable harvest when accumulated. In addition to ammonites, Chu Xu did not refuse any fish, shrimp, conch, or clams that he could see. He used the same method to scare them unconscious one by one with his overlord's power, and then ate them without mercy. In a short period of time, Chu Xu gained hundreds of evolution points, and his efficiency was extremely high. It was really great to enjoy a seafood feast while collecting a large number of evolution points. However, Chu Xu never let his guard down. He had just witnessed the life and death fight in the Hell Aquarium not long ago, and he did not believe that this was a harmonious and kind place. Sure enough, when Chu Xu continued to go deeper into this sea area, he alarmed the #1 bully here, the swordfish. It had just eaten and was about to return to its nest to sleep, but found that an uninvited guest had broken into its territory. When the swordfish came angrily, it found that it was actually a dinosaur from land. In the eyes of these marine predators, the big and bulky dinosaurs from land were food that came to their doorsteps. Shoo! After locking onto the target, the swordfish swung its tail suddenly, and it shot out like an arrow from a bow, causing the surrounding seawater to tremble violently. The speed of the swordfish in the water is comparable to that of the later mako shark, reaching more than 70 kilometers per hour. Few prey can escape its deadly mouth. What a fast speed! The moment the swordfish appeared, Chu Xu's telepathic perception had already captured its figure, and he immediately equipped himself with liquid weapons to enhance his defense. He knew very well that he was in the sea and his movements were hindered. His high-speed movement skills could not be used, and his speed and agility were greatly reduced. Even his fire-based special moves were difficult to perform normally. If you want to deal with this ferocious swordfish, you must play to your strengths and avoid your weaknesses, and play to your advantages in size and strength. The swordfish has quickly approached Chu Xu, and its huge mouth opened wide, revealing its terrifying bloody gums and terrifying fangs. Catcha! Chu Xu did not dodge or evade, and let the swordfish bite his right leg. His entire right leg was now wrapped in fluid energy, as if he was wearing a piece of steel leg armor. The swordfish's fierce bite did not remove the flesh and bones of the prey as he wished, but instead made his nail-like teeth stuck. Good opportunity. Chu Xu suddenly stretched out a pair of forelimbs and firmly controlled the upper and lower jaws of the swordfish, biting his right leg. Then he violently pried the upper and lower jaws of the swordfish apart. This move is called King Kong mouth breaking. Kachika. As the rock-hard muscles of Chu Xu's forelimbs bulged, all his strength was added to the extreme, and the big mouth of the swordfish was actually torn apart from the corner of its mouth, turning it into a veritable split-mouthed fish. Although the torn mouth injury was not fatal, it made its most deadly weapon useless. Splash! Splash! The swordfish, in great pain, struggled violently, and finally got rid of Chu Xu's control with splashes of water. It was so angry that it lost its mind and attacked again, biting Chu Xu's other left leg. But just as it was about to bite, the swordfish found that it couldn't close its mouth. Puff! Before the swordfish could react, Chu Xu's front claws stabbed into the swordfish's mouth at lightning speed, and went straight into its throat. This move is called King Kong stabbing the throat. As soon as Chu Xu's claws stabbed into the swordfish's throat, they burned with the blazing flames, with scorching heat, tearing its throat from the inside out, penetrating its body, causing blood to flow, and quickly dyeing the surrounding seawater red. The swordfish was in great pain and its body froze. It almost saw its own milk. It twisted its body like a fish that was short of oxygen, and tried to drag Chu Xu's huge dragon body to escape. The trapped beast still fought, and its danger and ferocity were 3 times more dangerous than before. Tear. Chu Xu didn't waste any more time. He opened his mouth and bit the swordfish's head cleanly. His sharp banana teeth suddenly closed. Bite it to pieces. The muscles near his jaw bulged, and the developed muscles also provided tremendous strength, and the bite force increased sharply. This time, I will let you see the truly terrifying bite force of the land overlord's big mouth. In the end, there was only a crisp sound like the skin and flesh being torn apart, and most of the swordfish's head was separated and swallowed into Chu Xu's mouth. Chapter 52, Cretaceous Thorn Shark. Exploding flames for a beautiful world. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. Chu Xu kept tearing off chunks of flesh from the swordfish's head and body, swallowing them along with the seawater. The swordfish was very tenacious, and it still had the strength to resist hysterically after being eaten alive like this. If Chu Xu hadn't used his front claws to penetrate the swordfish's body from the inside out and locked it tightly, it might have escaped. However, no matter how tenacious its vitality was, it had its limit. When Chu Xu bit off the swordfish's spine, it finally twitched a few times and could no longer move. Chu Xu then felt relieved to bite the swordfish's flesh. The whole body weighed more than 500 kilograms, and the meat was firm. Although it was also a carnivorous animal, it was much more delicious than the carnivorous dinosaurs on land. You hunted a swordfish, evolution points plus 50. If it were placed on land, the size of the swordfish would be the same as that of a Dakitaraptor, and the evolution points of the two would be the same. In the Hull Aquarium, there are many marine predators that are larger and more dangerous than the swordfish, such as the great white shark plus version Cretaceous thorny shark, the Cretaceous sea monster tossed giant squid, the Loch Ness monster plesiosaur, and the Cretaceous sea king mosasaur. Let's stop here for today. After eating the whole swordfish, Chu Xu's stomach was full, and the physical consumption of swimming and fighting in the seawater was also extremely huge, which made him feel a little tired. If he encounters a more ferocious marine predator next, it will be dangerous. So Chu Xu temporarily went home and waited until tomorrow to continue hunting and collecting evolution points. 3 days later. The moonlight was like water, falling on the mirror like ocean, reflecting the bright pearls embedded in the darkness. Shua. A swordfish-like protozoan cut through the waves, as fast as sparks, and its sharp sword-like snout accurately hid a hapless little fish, completely piercing its body. The protozoan, the famous lightning swordsman of the Hell Aquarium, is a medium-sized predatory fish with a body length of about 3 meters and a short burst speed of more than 120 kilometers per hour. The protozoan opened its mouth wide and slowly swallowed the small fish into its stomach, slowly digesting it. But it didn't notice that a huge black shadow from not far away was quietly approaching. The mantis stalks the cicada, but the oriole is behind. Boom! The seawater suddenly became turbid, and a black shadow appeared behind the protozoan. The bloody mouth with staggered fangs opened and closed, and it had already pierced the body of the protozoan and swallowed it. As the turbid seawater gradually faded, the black shadow revealed its true face. It was very different from ordinary marine creatures. It was a dinosaur from land. Ling. You hunted a primordial, evolution points plus 30, after Chu Xu ate the unfortunate primordial, a system prompt sounded in his ears. He took another look at the evolution point column on the current data panel, and the number just reached 1,000 points. Finally, I have collected 1,000 evolution points. Chu Xu has been active in the Western Inland Seaway these days, hunting various marine creatures and reaping a lot of rewards. That's why he was able to collect a full 1,000 evolution points in such a short time. Today's task has been completed. Chu Xu no longer lingers, dragging his tired body to swim towards the shore. The ocean is even more dangerous at night, especially under the sea surface, where the moonlight cannot penetrate the seawater, presenting a deep darkness where you can't see your hand in front of you, as if it is a bottomless abyss that can swallow everything, and undercurrents are surging. Splash! At this moment, Chu Xu heard the strange sound of the seawater churning behind him, and his telepathic perception quickly captured a terrifying shadow approaching rapidly. As soon as the other party entered the sensing range, Chu Xu caught a glimpse of its true form. A huge and sturdy spindle-shaped body, a thick and sharp triangular dorsal fin, rough shield scales covered with dense barbs, a signature bloody mouth and long sharp teeth with smooth edges. This is a large marine predator that is far more brutal and ferocious than the swordfish, the Cretaceous thorn shark. The Cretaceous thorn shark, also known as the golden kitchen shark, is named for its mouthful of sharp teeth like kitchen knives. The teeth are long and sharp, with sharp edges and no serrations, with smooth cutting edges, and the crowns are covered with thick enamel, which is very lethal. In addition, the size of the Cretaceous thorn shark is also very amazing, with a body length of 7 to 9 meters and a weight of more than 3 tons, which is much larger than the great white shark of later generations. If the swordfish is compared to the Dacaraptor on land, then the Cretaceous thorn shark is the dwarf Tyrannosaurus on land. Only the Cretaceous sea king mosasaur, which is equivalent to the Tyrannosaurus Rex on land, can deal with it. And it must be an adult mosasaur with a body length of more than 10 meters, otherwise it may still become the prey of the Cretaceous thorn shark. If it were on land, Chu Xu would not be afraid of the Cretaceous thorn shark, but now it is an away game after all, and he knows that he is not the opponent of the Cretaceous thorn shark. So he hurriedly speeded up and swam towards the shore. As long as he could escape to the land, then the opponent would not be able to do anything to him no matter how powerful he was. The Cretaceous thorn shark has already discovered Chu Xu. It has a ferocious temperament and is not interested in those small fish and shrimps. Its favorite prey is the ancient giant turtle, horn shark, wobbegong, swordfish, plesiosaur and other medium and large marine creatures, which are in line with its big appetite. Chu Xu's body size also met its hunting requirements. When its crescent-shaped tail fin swung, its huge shark body was like a torpedo. The dorsal fin of the Cretaceous thorn shark suddenly tore through the water surface, reaching a speed of more than 60 kilometers per hour. Even the surrounding seawater trembled violently, rolling up waves of turbulent undercurrents. The speed of the Cretaceous thorn shark was much faster than Chu Xu's swimming speed, and the distance between the two sides quickly closed. Do you think I'm a sick chicken if the Tyrannosaurus Rex doesn't show its power? Chu Xu made a prompt decision, stopped where he was, turned around and faced the Cretaceous thorn shark, and a small flame was brewing in the depths of his throat. Boom! As soon as the Cretaceous thorn shark approached Chu Xu, the entire huge shark body jumped out of the water. As the seawater surged, a bloody mouth suddenly appeared and bit him head-on. The white fangs and bloody gums were close at hand, and the scene was extremely visually impactful. At the same time, the flames that Chu Xu had brewed in his mouth also whistled out, and under his timing control, They just entered the wide-open mouth of the Cretaceous thorn shark, offering a blast of flames to a beautiful world. Explosion. The next second, the flames suddenly exploded in the mouth of the Cretaceous thorn shark. The high-temperature flames that exploded not only burned and scalded the inner wall of its mucous membrane, but also broke its upper and lower jaws with a powerful impact force, making it difficult for the Cretaceous thorn shark to close its mouth, just like the swordfish a few days ago. This is not over yet. The blast of flames that attached to the bones rushed into the esophagus of the Cretaceous thorn shark in one fell swoop, severely burning its esophagus. Bang! The Cretaceous thorn shark's original leaping and flying action stopped abruptly, and it fell heavily back to the water again. A large amount of seawater poured into its big mouth that was difficult to close for a while, which slightly alleviated the high-temperature burning effect of the small explosion. However, although this attack failed to kill the Cretaceous thorn shark, it ended up with a slow death. From now on, let alone hunting, even if food is delivered to its eyes, it will be a problem whether it can eat it. Chapter 53 Agumon evolves into Tyrannosaurus. System update. Please read and recommend. The painful Cretaceous thorn shark fled in panic. It had lived in the ocean since childhood and had never seen fire. It didn't know what had happened. It was just subconsciously filled with fear. The survival instinct made it hurriedly stay away from the dinosaur from the land. Splash! The Cretaceous thorn shark fled in panic, and Chu Xu did not continue to chase it. The crisis was finally resolved. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief and continued to swim towards the shore. Not long after, Chu Xu returned to the coast safely. The moment his feet stepped on the land, his heart became much more at ease. After leaving the coast, Chu Xu returned to a nearby flatland. This was his temporary residence for the past few days. It was also convenient for him to go to the sea to hunt every day. Start evolving. After more than half a year, Chu Xu is finally going to usher in his second evolution. Spend 1000 evolution points. Evolution officially begins. At this moment, Chu Xu's ears seemed to ring with the melody of the Digimon evolution song engraved into his DNA, and in front of him seemed to be a brilliant light rising into the sky, scattered into countless star-studded digital genes in the dark chaos. When these digital genes were integrated into the body and even penetrated into the soul, Chu Xu's body turned in circles and underwent earth-shaking changes. The most intuitive is of course the body size. Originally, Chu Xu's body length was 5 meters, head height was 2.5 meters, and weight was 2 tons. In this short period of evolution, Chu Xu's body grew and stretched at a speed visible to the naked eye. His heart was beating violently, and the scales, muscles, bones, internal organs and other important structures and parts of the body were changing accordingly. In the end, Chu Xu's body length was fixed at 7 meters, head height reached 3.5 meters, and weight at least doubled, reaching a full 4 tons. Such a body size is equivalent to the standard of a normal Tyrannosaurus Rex, around 16 years old. The second biggest change is concentrated in Chu Xu's head. The skin scales covering the ferocious and huge head were highly hardened, forming a bone armor similar to the bone plate of Ankylosaur, which only revealed the red eyes. It covered the upper half of the head, and was dark and shiny, emitting an indestructible metallic luster. In addition, 3 huge horns similar to those of a triceratops grew above Chu Xu's eyes and nostrils. The brows on both sides were like battle axes, and the nose horn in front was like a sword pointing to the sky, and it was as black and shiny as the bone armor, shining with cold light. Finally, the details of various parts of the body changed. The banana teeth in the mouth became thicker, and the claws on the limbs became sharper. Large chunks of muscles like hard rocks bulged from the limbs, tightly wrapped by a body of scales as thick as steel. The whole dragon body was like an iron mountain formed by muscle casting, towering. Roar. After the evolution was completed, Chu Xu felt an unprecedented sense of power and exhilaration filling his body, and he couldn't help but let out a roar that could be heard thousands of miles away. Agumon evolves into Tyrannosaurus. Why is it that Agumon is always the first to complete the evolution in Digimon? That's to tell you that no matter what you do, you need to pave the way with courage first. Opening the new data panel, Chu Xu immediately checked his own changes. Name, Chu Xu. Age, 1 year and 2 months. Race, Tyrannosaurus. Male. Growth stage, adolescence. 4-dimensional attributes, strength 3200, agility 3000, constitution 3500, spirit 3300, evolution points. 5. Skills, flame claw, flame fang, flash charge, high-speed movement, special moves, small flame, small explosion, super flame, giant horn impact. Achievements: Tyrannosaurus Rex, intermediate; telepathic perception, intermediate; fluid armament, intermediate. Next evolutionary form, machine Tyrannosaurus Rex. It is really a complete transformation. The race has changed from Agumon to Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the growth stage has changed from adolescence to adolescence. The four-dimensional attribute values have more than tripled, and the combined comprehensive combat power has increased exponentially. According to this system, the four-dimensional attributes of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, including strength and constitution, are only about 3,000, while agility and spirit are very low. This also means that Chu Xu's overall combat power has surpassed that of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex. It turned out that Agumon's special move, Small Flame, has also been upgraded to Tyrannosaurus' special move, Super Flame. The attack power and range have been greatly improved. The super high-temperature flames ejected from its mouth are enough to burn everything into nothingness. In addition, there is a new skill, Giant Horn Impact, which uses its huge and hard eyebrow horns to collide with the enemy, and the lethality is more terrible than ordinary collisions. Finally, even the three achievements of Overlord's talent, telepathic perception, and fluid armament have been upgraded from elementary to intermediate. You have successfully completed the second evolution, and the system will automatically update. Please wait. At this time, an unexpected system prompt sounded. System update? Chu Xu waited patiently, and the system was updated after a minute. The system has been updated, the evolution point permissions have been released, and the subspecies panel has been opened. Please check the specific functions yourself. Chu Xu couldn't wait to check the new functions after the system update. The first is the evolution point authority. In the past, the use of evolution points was limited to converting attribute points, healing points and evolution. Now evolution points can also be used to upgrade skill proficiency. 1 evolution point is equal to 1 proficiency. In this way, Chu Xu does not need to grind skill proficiency every day. With enough evolution points, the existing intermediate skills can be directly upgraded to advanced skills. The last is the opening of a new panel. Subspecies panel. Chu Xu opened it and saw that it listed the information of different subspecies of Tyrannosaurus. Tyrannosaurus, one of the subspecies of Tyrannosaurus, has a head carapace and body parts that are as developed as weapons, and has a more aggressive posture. Spend 1,000 evolution points to obtain a subspecies template. Tyrannosaurus X, one of the subspecies of Tyrannosaurus, has greatly enhanced its attack power after fusing with the X antibody. Spend 3,000 evolution points to obtain a subspecies template, Tyrannosaurus. There is also Tyrannosaurus X. Chu Xu was shocked and quickly understood its specific purpose. As long as he obtains the subspecies template, he can transform into the subspecies at any time and gain more powerful abilities. Of course, this is only a subspecies template. Chu Xu's body is still Tyrannosaurus, and the original evolutionary route will not change. Interesting. The skill power and combat effectiveness of these Tyrannosaurus subspecies are stronger than those of ordinary Tyrannosaurus. In the future, when he gathers enough evolution points, Chu Xu will definitely collect their subspecies templates. After putting away the data panel, Chu Xu's mood was still excited. After more than a year of development and evolution, he is now finally able to stand at the peak of the late Cretaceous and compete with other top predators. Let the storm come even harder. Chapter 54. The chrysanthemums are withered and wounded all over the ground, and they come back with a vengeance. Please read and recommend. The next morning, Chu Xu set out on his journey home. He hadn't been home for almost a week, so it was time to go back and see Longmai and the others. Of course, he didn't want to go home empty-handed, and on the way, Chu Xu happened to meet a group of small noble dragons. Small noble dragons are medium-sized herbivorous dinosaurs of the genus Small Noble Dragon of the Hadrosaur family. They are 9 meters long and weigh 2 tons. They are much smaller than their close relatives Edmontosaurus, but they are also the favorite food of local carnivorous dinosaurs. For Chu Xu now, even an adult small noble dragon is too weak, so he doesn't need any hunting tactics, he just rushes forward. Ugh! The moment Chu Xu appeared, the small noble dragons fled in panic, much faster than Edmontosaurus, and they were not as pampered as their name suggests. It was quite difficult to catch up with them at the speed of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, But Chu Xu was like chasing the wind and lightning, and caught up with a group of small noble dragons in the blink of an eye. Even though his size had grown, his speed had not slowed down. Instead, it had improved due to the increase in his agility attribute. When he was moving at high speed, his short-distance speed could even reach 300 kilometers per hour. Chu Xu chose the largest little noble dragon leader, and lowered his head. The sharp nose horn hit his waist fiercely with the momentum of the charge. Giant horn impact. Puff. The little noble dragon leader didn't even have time to react before Chu Xu's nose horn pierced through his body. The dragon body weighing more than 2 tons flew backwards for more than 10 meters. When he fell to the ground, he was already dead, with comminuted fractures all over his body. The wound on his waist that was completely penetrated was bleeding like a spring, and soon it became a river, soaking his whole body. One-shot kill. Chu Xu didn't even use his full strength, and such an adult little noble dragon lost his life under the heavy burden. Ling. You hunted a little noble dragon, evolution points plus 40. After hunting down the leader of the little noble dragons, Chu Xu was not satisfied. He caught up with the little noble dragons that had already fled far away and randomly selected another unlucky little noble dragon. Crack. Chu Xu bit the little noble dragon's neck accurately, and the latter suffered a powder fracture of the cervical vertebra on the spot and fell to the ground and died. The 2 little noble dragons should be a sumptuous meal for Long Ma and her friends. Chu Xu picked up a little noble dragon with one claw and rushed straight to Long Ma's territory. On the other side, when Chu Xu was away, Long Ma took Xianyu and Liuxing for hunting training as usual. Now Xianyu and Liuxing are more than 1 year old, and their bodies are much bigger than before. As the elder sister, Xianyu is 1.5 meters long and weighs nearly 100 kilograms. The insulation feathers that originally covered her body have faded a little, like a half-grown ostrich. As the younger brother, Liuxing is a circle smaller than Xianyu, and his body is still furry, still a real furry child. The target chosen by Long Ma for them today was a group of Ceratosaurus, which had been used as a tool for Chu Xu's hunting practice. After locking the target, Xianyu and Liuxing set up an ambush in advance, and Long Ma drove the group of Ceratosaurus to their hiding place. Roar. As soon as Long Ma appeared, the frightened group of Ceratosaurus immediately fled, and under her drive, they ran towards the position where Xianyu and Liuxing were. How. According to the original plan, they should wait until the Ceratosaurus approached them before attacking, but Liuxing quickly rushed out of the bushes where he was hiding. The group of Ceratosaurus, which was attacked from both sides, immediately disrupted their formation, rushed left and right, and fled in all directions. Liuxing chose a sub-adult Ceratosaurus of about the same size as himself, and chased it with a roar. Although the Ceratosaurus had 2 more legs, it could not outrun Liuxing, who was light and strong, and the distance between the 2 sides kept getting closer. Finally, after chasing for hundreds of meters, Liuxing had already approached the Ceratops and bit the latter's butt. Although Long Ma had not taught him such a move, Liuxing was self-taught and had a special liking for this part, and every attack was effective. Moo. Liuxing's bite made the Ceratops stagger and fall to the ground in pain. The reason was not anything else, but Liuxing bit its cloaca. That is, the excretion organ of dinosaurs. Ascaris, rotifers, amphibians, reptiles, birds and a few mammals have special cloaca structures, and dinosaurs are the same. Its location is between the base of the tail and the hip bone, and the opening is V-shaped, similar to a pair of open lips, surrounded by wrinkled textures with melanin deposition, which is obviously different from the surrounding skin. For dinosaurs, the function of the cloaca is not limited to excretion, but is mainly used for courtship, mating and laying eggs. Its importance is self-evident. So it is conceivable that Liuxing's bite caused great damage to the Ceratosaurus. If Chu Xu saw this scene, he would definitely doubt whether Liuxing was a Tyrannosaurus Rex or a hyena that was keen on digging anus. As the Ceratosaurus fell to the ground, Liuxing was more convinced that his unique skill was very useful and he would definitely carry it forward in the future. How. Anyway, the Ceratosaurus' neck was protected by a neck shield, and Liuxing couldn't bite it, so he simply continued to bite its butt, one bite after another, with blood all over his mouth. The chrysanthemum was broken and the ground was full of wounds. The Ceratosaurus lost the ability to resist because of the severe pain, and collapsed to the ground with his eyes closed, waiting to die. On the other side, Xianyu had also caught up with a Ceratosaurus, but she still followed the conventional method taught by Long Ma. trying to kill the prey by biting the neck and locking the throat, but the neck shield of the Ceratosaurus had little effect. For a while, there was really no way to deal with the opponent. Not long after, the Ceratosaurus that was digging its anus was completely dead, and Liu Xing happily enjoyed the food. How! Just as Liu Xing was wolfing down his food, a strange, pungent smell entered his nose, making him feel a little strange. Crackling. There was a slight rustling sound from a certain direction. Liu Xing looked in the direction of the sound and also sensed the danger. He subconsciously wanted to escape, but was reluctant to throw away the prey he had just hunted. Roar! Just as Liu Xing hesitated, a Tyrannosaurus that was huge for him suddenly rushed out, and a low roar that could not hide the excitement in its mouth exploded in Liu Xing's ears. Dwarf Tyrannosaurus. You can see that the scales and skin of this dwarf Tyrannosaurus show many traces of high-temperature burns, leaving a bloody centipede-like hideous wound, which is shocking. This is the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus that had escaped from Chu Xu's hands by chance. I thought the other party had already fled and disappeared, but I didn't expect it to come back again after more than 2 months. Seeing such a terrifying enemy, Liu Xing screamed in fear, no longer caring about the prey in his hand, and hurriedly turned around and ran away. But in the direction of his escape, another terrifying black shadow appeared. It was a larger female dwarf Tyrannosaurus. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. There is a road to heaven but you don't go. There is no door to hell but you go there by yourself. Please read and recommend. Two Dwarf Tyrannosaurus! Exclamation mark. Liu Xing was dumbfounded. He had no idea when he was attacked from both sides by this couple of dwarf Tyrannosaurus. Not long ago, when his family was hunting the Ceratosaurus, they also adopted this strategy of attacking from both sides. At this moment, Liu Xing realized that he would also become the prey of other predators. Roar! Roar! The two dwarf Tyrannosaurus pressed forward step by step, leaving Liu Xing with nowhere to escape. He roared in a state of panic. Liu Xing wanted to call for Long Ma, but because he was chasing the prey, he was too far away from Long Ma, and the latter could not hear his cry for help. Roar! 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 The male dwarf Tyrannosaurus recognized that Liu Xing and Chu Xu were both Tyrannosaurus cubs from the same family. Its eyes were red, full of cruelty and hatred. Chu Xu, who has strange means, may not be a match for the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus, but the petite and weak Liu Xing in front of him is the fish on the chopping board. The male dwarf Tyrannosaurus will start his revenge on Chu Xu's family from Liu Xing. With a roar, the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus took the lead and took a big step, opening his bloody mouth and biting Liu Xing. Roar! Suddenly, a roar like a thunderbolt sounded from a distance. The powerful deterrent force contained in it actually stopped the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus's charge. He had to stand still, and his muscles were spasming and trembling. The female dwarf Tyrannosaurus on the other side was no exception. For some reason, when the roar reached her ears, she felt an indescribable fear and powerlessness in her heart, as if her heart was tightly grasped by an invisible big hand, and she could hardly beat, and even couldn't breathe. What on earth is this? Exclamation mark. Roar. The next second, the roar like a raging fire and thunder rose again, but this time it was already close at hand. When the couple of dwarf Tyrannosaurus turned their heads tremblingly, their bodies completely stiffened. In their field of vision, there was a figure that was even bigger and more majestic than them. It had a similar body of a Tyrannosaurus, but its head was covered with a bone armor like an ankylosaur, and it had 3 huge horns like a triceratops. The couple of dwarf Tyrannosaurus couldn't believe their eyes. They had never seen such a strange-looking Tyrannosaurus in their lives. But the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus soon discovered something, and there was a bit of shock in his eyes. The male dwarf Tyrannosaurus smelled a familiar smell from the strange Tyrannosaurus in front of him. It turned out to be him. It was the young Tyrannosaurus Rex that had severely injured him 2 months ago with that strange method. What puzzled the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus was that in just 2 months, how could the other party's body size increase so much, directly surpassing himself, and the appearance was completely changed. How? Liu Xing thought he was doomed, but he didn't expect that the dwarf Tyrannosaurus couple's movement stopped inexplicably. Could it be that the mother of dragons is here? Liu Xing also heard the familiar roar, and hurriedly looked in the direction of the sound. What came into view was not the dragon mother, but a Tyrannosaurus Rex that was more terrifying and ferocious than the dwarf Tyrannosaurus couple. That was Big Brother? Exclamation mark. For Tyrannosaurus Rex, smell is the most important way to identify. Although Liu Xing had never seen the appearance of that Tyrannosaurus Rex, he smelled the familiar smell of Big Brother from the other party. How could Big Brother change completely after just a few days of not seeing him? There is a road to heaven but you don't go, there is no door to hell but you throw yourself in. After suppressing the dwarf Tyrannosaurus couple steadily with the intermediate Tyrannosaurus Rex, Chu Xu glanced at them coldly. After the Tyrannosaurus Rex is upgraded to the intermediate level, the oppression and deterrence of other animals are greatly improved, and it can be controlled according to one's own will, released through the body, eyes and sound, from the timing of use to the power, as well as the scope of influence, are all under control. Just now, Chu Xu added the effect of Overlord's talent to his roar, and then he realized the effect of remotely shocking the couple with his roar. The reason why he was able to discover the comeback of the couple was also due to Chu Xu's upgraded telepathic perception. The perception range has been expanded to a radius of 100 miles. In addition to being able to perceive the breadth of creatures and the geographical environment without blind spots, it can also perceive malicious intent, foresee danger, and predict the enemy's next move. Chu Xu glanced at Liu Xing, and it was good that he was not injured. Next, it was time for him to settle old scores with the couple. Roar. Chu Xu first locked onto the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus, and roared like a star like lightning. The huge horn between his nose was suddenly covered with layers of substantial fluid energy, which made it more than twice as thick and long. This is the intermediate fluid weapon, which covers the whole body, and can achieve power superposition in parts of the body. Finally, it can even penetrate the surface of an object and directly destroy the inside of the object. Rumble! Exclamation mark. The earth shook violently. Chu Xu rushed to the front of the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus almost instantly, and the breath burst out was extremely fierce and blazing, and everything was destroyed. Giant horn impact. Facing this attack, the familiar threat of death once again filled the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus's heart, but he still had no way to avoid it. Puff. Chu Xu's giant horn easily penetrated the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus body and hit the latter's chest. The penetration damage was just the beginning. It was followed by the internal damage of the intermediate liquid weapon, which instantly caused the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus's internal organs and bones to be fatally damaged and shattered. Blood gushed out and he died on the spot. This was not over yet. With Chu Xu's violent head swing, the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus weighing 2 tons was easily lifted up by him. The giant horn was like a boning knife that tore the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus's body without any hindrance, and finally directly split it in two. The 2 pieces of the body fell to the ground with the bones and flesh separated, and there was no complete body. Killed in one encounter. Now Chu Xu is not only twice the size of the dwarf Tyrannosaurus, but also has other attributes such as strength, speed, and physique that are even better than the dwarf Tyrannosaurus. His fighting power is already on a different level. The giant horn was stained with blood, and the blood flowed directly into Chu Xu's eyes, dyeing them even more blood red, exuding a violent and ferocious wildness. Seeing her husband being slaughtered, the remaining female dwarf Tyrannosaurus was already weak and frightened to death. Even when facing an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, she had never been so scared. She wanted to escape, but her body was out of control and she couldn't move. She wanted to resist, but she was even more weak and helpless. Boom! After killing the male dwarf Tyrannosaurus, Chu Xu's eyes immediately fell on the female dwarf Tyrannosaurus, and a raging flame suddenly brewed in his mouth. Before he could speak, the greedy flames could not wait to emerge from between his teeth. Super flame. When Chu Xu opened his mouth, the giant flame that was ready to burst out instantly gushed out, emitting supersonic shock waves and bursts of explosions, so large that it almost covered the entire body of the female dwarf Tyrannosaurus. Chapter 56, In the blink of an eye, everything is gone. Silent farewell. Please read and recommend. Roar. Under the threat of life and death, the female dwarf Tyrannosaurus barely regained a little autonomy of her body, and hurriedly turned her head to escape. But it was too late. The super flame quickly covered the whole body of the female dwarf Tyrannosaurus, and the surrounding land was burned into a small sea of fire in the blink of an eye. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as the super flame touched the body of the female dwarf Tyrannosaurus, It melted its scales at a speed visible to the naked eye and even directly vaporized it, from the outside to the inside, flesh, internal organs, bones. In the end, only a charred carbon trace was left on the ground, indicating that it had survived. Ashes and smoke disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chu Xu, who was testing the power of the super flame for the first time, was also quite shocked. With this move in hand, he was already invincible. Kill gods and Buddhas, how could normal carbon-based creatures withstand such a terrifying high-temperature flame? Ling. You hunted a dwarf Tyrannosaurus, evolution points plus 100. X2 This pair of lingering dwarf Tyrannosaurus couples were finally killed. Chu Xu also let out a long breath. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At this moment, Long Ma found that Liu Xing had been delayed for too long, so she followed a smell with Xian Yu and rushed over. As soon as they arrived at the scene, Long Ma and Xian Yu were shocked. There was a body of a dwarf Tyrannosaurus lying on the ground with only 2 pieces left, and a large area of indescribable burnt marks, emitting a pungent smell of burnt. The most important thing is that there is a strange Tyrannosaurus with a strange appearance next to Liu Xing. The other party just standing there has created an invisible deterrence and oppression. Roar. Long Ma, who was eager to protect her son, didn't think so much, and rushed up eagerly, wanting to protect Liu Xing from the strange Tyrannosaurus. Chu Xu had already noticed the arrival of Long Ma and Xian Yu, but he didn't expect Long Ma to attack him without saying anything. Could it be that his appearance has changed so much that Long Ma didn't recognize him? Rumble, rumble, rumble. Dragon Mother used all her strength in this impact, and with her sturdy body weighing more than 8 tons, the power was amazing. However, Chu Xu instantly covered his body with a layer of fluid energy, as if he was covered with a heavy armor. With a muffled bang, Chu Xu's figure was like a reef washed by the waves, motionless, and the fluid energy automatically offset most of the impact force, and even made Dragon Mother retreat several steps by the recoil. Roar. Taking this opportunity, Chu Xu hurriedly roared at Dragon Mother to explain his identity. There was no hostility in his roar, on the contrary, it revealed a sense of closeness. How Liu Xing also came to Dragon Mother's side and explained to her while roaring. Suddenly, Dragon Mother was stunned, and when her nose moved, she smelled the scent of her eldest son from the strange Tyrannosaurus in front of her. Roar. Dragon Mother looked at Chu Xu in doubt, really confused. It's only been a few days since we last met. How come the eldest son has completely changed? Even his mother couldn't recognize him. Xian Yu, who was following behind, also recognized Chu Xu, but hid behind Long Ma in fear. Perhaps it was because Chu Xu looked too scary now. Only Liu Xing was excited and swung around Chu Xu, wagging his tail. After witnessing his elder brother slaughtering the couple of dwarf Tyrannosaurus Rex, he admired his elder brother even more. He didn't know when he could be as powerful as his elder brother. Chu Xu didn't know how to explain his huge changes, so he simply changed the subject and brought the 2 little noble dragons he hunted. Seeing such a sumptuous meal, Long Ma and the others' attention was diverted, and they all immersed themselves in enjoying the food. After traveling for so long this morning and experiencing a battle, Chu Xu was hungry, and it was just right for the family to have a reunion dinner together. Chu Xu's family has their own favorite parts of the body, such as his favorite tendon meat with dense meat and interlaced fascia. Long Ma loves to eat steaming fresh offal, Xian Yu loves to eat the tender tenderloin on the inside of the spine, and Liu Xing has a special liking for the fat buttocks. He also took out a piece of pink intestines and rolled it into his mouth like slurping noodles. Chu Xu even clearly saw that there were filthy things left in the intestines that had not been excreted, but Liu Xing didn't care at all. He ate it as stuffing, relishing it and leaving a fragrant taste in his mouth. This scene made Chu Xu feel a little nauseous for some reason, and he turned his head away quickly, not daring to look at it again. However, the beautiful scene of eating a reunion dinner with Long Ma and others filled Chu Xu's heart with warmth. In the previous life, why did a person fight and struggle outside? It was not only for himself, but also to give his family a better life. In the current life, he is a dinosaur, and Chu Xu feels the same. But today he came back specially, in fact, to say goodbye to Long Ma and others. With Chu Xu's physical development, he has already reached the stage of independent living. Even if he refuses to leave, Long Ma may drive him away in the near future. Chu Xu does not want to have another conflict with Long Ma. Since he is destined to leave, he might as well choose to leave in style. After eating and drinking, Long Ma has developed a good habit of packing up the food that cannot be finished. She took the leftovers and led Xianyu and Liuxing home. Chu Xu followed behind them, not knowing how to start for a while. As soon as they got home, a drizzle began to fall. The raindrops were like silk and thread, as if the sky was whispering something. Long Ma crouched under a towering araucaria tree to take shelter from the rain, and she was so tired that she felt a little drowsy. The energetic Xianyu and Liuxing were still playing and fighting in the puddles formed by the rain, making their feathers dirty. Chu Xu also came to Long Ma in the rain. Dragon Mother raised her head and glanced at her eldest son, who had changed a lot. Then she slowly moved her body to make room for Chu Xu to take shelter from the rain. Chu Xu walked over and lay down beside Dragon Mother. The raindrops gathered into a stream and slid down his body. The coldness after being wet gradually warmed up. Dragon Mother's body was still so huge, full of security, but it no longer made Chu Xu feel out of reach as it did at the beginning. He had grown up. He believed that it would not take long for him to reach the same size as Dragon Mother, or even bigger and stronger. Roar! Chu Xu roared at Dragon Mother in a low voice, which contained the meaning that he wanted to live independently. But Dragon Mother turned her head and looked at Chu Xu strangely, as if she could not understand what he meant. Chu Xu smiled bitterly in his heart. It was difficult to find words that could express his meaning in the scarce language library of Tyrannosaurus Rex. But whether Dragon Mother could understand what he meant or not, Chu Xu planned to leave after this light drain. Perhaps in the animal world, there is no audible farewell, only silent departure. The rain curtain was like a dream, hazy, and the mother of dragons beside him had fallen asleep, snoring like thunder. After playing tired, Xianyu and Liuxing also returned to the mother of dragons and fell asleep. Chu Xu stayed by their side until the rain stopped, and then stood up lightly. He took a last look at the mother of dragons and Xianyu Liuxing. His eyes were a little moist, and then he walked away. Behind him, the mother of dragons, who seemed to have noticed something, slowly opened her eyes and saw Chu Xu's back step by step. In the direction he left, the blue sky gradually turned into rainbow, the sun dispelled the haze, and the green mountains in the distance gradually became clear in the haze. There was a blooming white cloud, slowly sliding over the top of the mountain and drifting away. It was like the back of that departing figure was getting farther and farther away until it could no longer be seen. P.S. A short farewell is for a better reunion in the future. Chapter 57, Parting is for a better reunion. Proof of qualification as a top predator. After leaving Long Ma's territory, Chu Xu went straight back to the coast of the Western Inland Seaway. Living independently is inevitable, and Chu Xu has already prepared himself mentally, adjusting his somewhat reluctant emotions, and replacing them with a yearning and determination for future life. Parting is for a better reunion, and Chu Xu will definitely go back to Long Ma and the others in the future. He has not forgotten the dream he often had before, the nightmare of the dinosaur extinction. In the nightmare, he has already lived independently, and Crescent Moon Liuxing is still living with Long Ma. It was on a seemingly ordinary day that the asteroid from outer space visited and destroyed everything. Chu Xu can still occasionally dream of this nightmare, and the touch is becoming more and more real and terrifying, urging him to do everything he can to evolve and become stronger in order to stop it all. Coming to the coast of the Western Inland Seaway, Chu Xu regards this as his new territory. Not only the land, but also the shallow sea called the Hull Aquarium is waiting for his conquest. As the dry season draws to a close, the green delta plain has visibly withered, and most of its resources have been consumed by the large number of migrating herbivorous dinosaurs. Perhaps in another month or two, these herbivorous dinosaurs will have to travel a long distance and migrate back to the mountain forests in the north. Mu is the main force among herbivorous dinosaurs. The Triceratops are not only widely distributed and large in number, but also have an amazing appetite. They spend almost 20 hours a day foraging for food. An adult Triceratops consumes 300 to 400 kilograms of food a day, which is equivalent to the African elephants of later generations. Following the smell of food all the way, the Triceratops soon arrived at the coast, where the wetland woody plant communities growing here are still lush and green, which suits their appetite very well. After arriving at the destination, the Triceratops that had gathered together broke up and foraged for food in groups of 3 or 5. This is undoubtedly the best time for predators to start hunting. At this time, Chu Xu was hiding not far away, secretly watching this large group of Triceratops, among which there were also large horned dinosaurs of different species such as Torosaurus and Bravoceratops. It was roughly estimated that there were hundreds of them, which was not a small scale. For the Tyrannosaurus Rex, whether it could hunt a Triceratops independently determined whether it had the hunting ability of a top predator. So the first step for Chu Xu to live independently was to target this group of old enemies. After searching around with telepathic perception, Chu Xu quickly spotted a male Triceratops with an exceptionally strong body. Other predators often choose the old, weak, sick and disabled to increase the success rate of hunting. Chu Xu did the opposite and picked young and strong prey, which would have a higher evolution point value. The average Triceratops is only 8 to 9 meters long and weighs 5 to 6 tons. Hunting this ordinary Triceratops is not challenging at all for Chu Xu. The male Triceratops he chose now is more than 10 meters long and weighs roughly 8 tons. Judging from the tonnage alone, the opponent is twice as big as himself, but Chu Xu didn't care about this difference. Starting with this male Triceratops, let all the herbivorous dinosaurs on this land know the reputation of the new generation of dinosaur tyrants. Awakened, hunting time. Bang! The next moment, Chu Xu attacked. His huge dragon body was like a machine, his agile feet crushed the ground, and rushed towards the male Triceratops as the target. The slow-reacting male Triceratops didn't react at all, and was still chewing the food he had just eaten. Chu Xu had already passed through the Triceratops group as fast as lightning, accurately located the target, opened his bloody mouth and bit the male Triceratops's neck shield. Moo. It was not until the neck shield was broken that the male Triceratops realized that a predator had appeared. The male Triceratops, who was suddenly attacked, did not flee in panic, but swung his short and thick neck violently, trying to break free from Chu Xu's big mouth. But Chu Xu had no intention of letting go. He bit the male Triceratops tightly until he violently bit its entire neck shield and spit out a mouthful of bone fragments. Moo. The male Triceratops was furious. For a Triceratops, the neck shield is not only to protect the neck, but also a tool for regulating body temperature and communicating with a mate. Once the neck shield is broken, its normal life will be seriously affected. On the other side, the surrounding Triceratops group discovered Chu Xu's arrival. The adult Triceratops immediately protected the young Triceratops and formed a classic circular defense formation. However, Chu Xu's target this time was not the small Triceratops with only a few pounds of meat. The hot-tempered male Triceratops howled, stared at Chu Xu fiercely, and raised a pair of thick eyebrows and horns in a show of force, then suddenly lowered his head and rushed towards Chu Xu. Any adult Tyrannosaurus Rex would not dare to resist its collision head-on, but Chu Xu did not dodge or evade, but instead faced it head-on. As soon as he approached the male Triceratops, Chu Xu's powerful forelimbs grabbed its two horns with his claws, and his hind limb claws dug deep into the ground like a plow. Moo. The male Triceratops's momentum was stopped abruptly. No matter how much brute force it used, it could not shake Chu Xu in the slightest. Roar. Chu Xu had only stopped the male Triceratops's momentum, and before he could use all his strength, as his waist strength drove his hips, thunderous sounds instantly erupted between his muscles and bones, and all his strength was concentrated on his forelimbs. Then, there was a crack. The male Triceratops' two horns broke and were thrown away by Chu Xu. Moo. Even the two horns that he was proud of were broken. The male Triceratops' howl was full of grief and indignation, but now it had no capital to resist Chu Xu. Chu Xu decided to show this male Triceratops what a real horn collision was. The front body was crouched low, the whole body was stretched straight horizontally, the huge horn between the nose was like a spear or a halberd, and with the help of the liquid weapon, it was sharpened and sharpened. As the dragon body started to eject, it boldly rushed forward. Giant horn impact. Puchy. The giant horn hit the male Triceratops's eyebrows, piercing through its skin and flesh like a dead tree, deeply piercing its hardest skull, and finally piercing out from the top of its head. Turbid blood and cerebrospinal fluid splashed out. A fatal blow. Moo. The huge body of the male Triceratops, which originally wanted to resist stubbornly, froze in an instant, and suddenly collapsed to the ground motionless, and its vitality quickly faded. Horizontal ellipsis. Chapter 58, Never Left, Invaders. Please read and recommend. Link. You hunted a Triceratops, evolution points plus 120. The system prompt sounded, which also meant that the life of this male Triceratops had come to an end. As expected, compared to ordinary Triceratops, its evolution points would be more valuable. Moo. The other Triceratops around were also panicked when they saw the tragic death of the male Triceratops. When the male Triceratops was still alive, they might have dared to organize a resistance, but once the former died, the fear of natural enemies took over their hearts again, and they hurriedly covered the evacuation of the little Triceratops. Chu Xu just glanced at the direction where the Triceratops group evacuated, then buried his head and cut open the belly of the male Triceratops and began to eat on the spot. After evolving into a Tyrannosaurus, his appetite naturally increased greatly. He had to eat at least 500 kilograms of meat a day to fill his stomach, comparable to an adult Tyrannosaurus. If he was active for a long time and used skills many times, the energy consumption was too high, and he even had to eat thousands of kilograms of meat to replenish his energy. After eating and drinking, Chu Xu did not go home to sleep, but continued to secretly catch up with the retreating Triceratops. Not long after, he caught up with the Triceratops and hunted an adult Triceratops in the same way, earning 100 evolution points. The Triceratops fled again. Chu Xu chased again and started hunting. He did not stop until the terrified Triceratops escaped from Chu Xu's territory. In this meal of wool pulling, he hunted a total of 4 adult Triceratops. In addition to Triceratops, there were also Torosaurus and Bravoceratops. The record was impressive, and the evolution points harvested in a single day exceeded 400 points. Anyway, these Triceratops are everywhere, and they are the most numerous dinosaurs in North America in the late Cretaceous, at least twice as many as Tyrannosaurus Rex in the same period. Chu Xu does not have to worry about the problem of exhausting the pond. This group of Triceratops left his territory, and there will be another group of Triceratops. Chu Xu only needs to continue to pull wool. However, Chu Xu himself might not be able to eat all the Triceratops in 10 days or half a month. So he dragged the Triceratops corpse all the way to the edge of Long Ma's territory, and turned away without waiting for them to appear. The bloody smell of the Triceratops corpse reached Long Ma's nose, who was out hunting, several miles away. She hurriedly took Xianyu and Liuxing to find out what was going on. After arriving at the scene, Long Ma found the Triceratops corpse. The bloody smell also attracted many other predators, but after seeing Long Ma as the lord of the territory, they all scattered like birds and beasts. Long Ma was a little surprised. Why did a Triceratops corpse appear here inexplicably? Looking at its wound, it was killed by a broken cervical vertebra. The only land predator that could do this was the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But if this Triceratops was killed by another Tyrannosaurus Rex, why was there no sign of eating, and the corpse was preserved so intact? Long Ma was puzzled, while Xianyu and Liuxing were happily salivating over this pie in the sky, each choosing their favorite part and eating it in big mouthfuls. Long Ma shook her head and didn't think about it anymore. She buried her head and enjoyed this free food with Xianyu and Liuxing. After eating and drinking, Long Ma dragged the remaining Triceratops corpse home with Xianyu and Liuxing. The internal organs in the abdomen of this Triceratops had been hollowed out, and the tenderloin, buttocks and other parts of the meat had been eaten almost completely, leaving only the intact tendon meat on the limbs and thighs. Long Ma remembered that it was the favorite meat of her eldest son, and Xianyu and Liuxing also remembered it. If he came back today, he would definitely be happy. Back home, Long Ma crouched under the towering araucaria tree as usual, looking at the direction where Chu Xu left. The setting sun slowly sank into the horizon, and the dusk fell, leaving the world bleak and lonely. Xianyu and Liuxing were still chasing and playing, having a great time. They were not surprised that their eldest brother was not there, because he often wandered outside by himself and did not come home for several days. However, they all knew that their eldest brother would come back sooner or later. Every time he came back, he would bring extremely rich food, enough for their family to eat for many days. Until a week later, a month later, 3 months later. When the dry season was over, the resources of the Delta Plain were exhausted, and Long Ma planned to follow the migrating group of herbivorous dinosaurs to the north. Chu Xu still did not come back. Only the ownerless prey that appeared inexplicably on the edge of the territory every once in a while made Long Ma feel vaguely that this was not a pie in the sky, but the work of her eldest son. He seemed to have never left them, and had always been silently accompanying them in the invisible distance. It was another sunset, and Long Ma watched for a long time under the araucaria tree whose leaves had fallen. When the last leaf fell, Long Ma took Xianyu and Liuxing from the direction Chu Xu left this new territory, and embarked on a long journey of migration to the north. A few days after hunting the Triceratops, another group of ankylosaurs appeared in Chu Xu's territory. There was the old friend, the great-faced ankylosaur, as well as different types of ankylosaurs such as the Denver dragon and the carp-toothed ankylosaur. Although the meat of the ankylosaurs was a little less, Chu Xu accepted them all and continued to fleece the ankylosaurs. The first was the great-faced ankylosaur that he had hunted with the long maw. It was 5 to 6 meters long and weighed up to 4 tons, which was the same as Chu Xu. However, the great-faced ankylosaur, known as the armored tank, was no different from a toy car in Chu Xu's hands today. Rumble Chu Xu hit it unexpectedly, and the heavy body of the great-faced ankylosaur was turned upside down, exposing its soft belly without the protection of bone plates. With a chuckle, Chu Xu mercilessly gutted the large-faced ankylosaur and ate its internal organs raw. You hunted an ankylosaur, evolution points plus 80. By the time Chu Xu was almost full, the large-faced ankylosaur had already died, and the ankylosaurs were scared away. Not long after, the frightened ankylosaurs encountered the elusive Tyrannosaurus Rex again, and an unlucky Denverosaurus was targeted by the latter. Denverosaurus, also known as Edmonton Ankylosaurus, belongs to the nodosaur family of ankylosaurs. Its appearance and size are similar to those of the large-faced ankylosaur. The biggest difference is that there is no specialized tail club at the tail. Chu Xu aimed at the small head of the Denverosaurus and bit it hard without saying a word. Crack! Chu Xu's bite force has now reached the 90,000 Newton standard of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is almost equivalent to a weight of 9 tons, crushing the head of the Denverosaurus, causing its hard bone armor and skull to break under the heavy load, and the entire head finally burst in Chu Xu's bloody mouth. After a long time, the headless body of the Denverosaurus fell to the ground with a bang, and the blood stained the ground. The other ankylosaurs saw this scene and hated their parents for not giving them 2 more legs. They dared not stay in this area anymore and ran away desperately. The ankylosaurs fled, and Chu Xu chased them. The poor ankylosaurs could not fly away. After half a day, several ankylosaurs died in Chu Xu's mouth. It was not until the ankylosaurs escaped from the territory that Chu Xu gave up for the time being. I have collected 1,000 evolution points. I can try to exchange for the subspecies template of Tyrannosaurus first. Chu Xu was eager to try. He had already experienced the power of evolving into Tyrannosaurus. So how powerful would a more powerful subspecies of Tyrannosaurus be? Just as Chu Xu was preparing to exchange for the subspecies template of Tyrannosaurus, on the other side, an adult male Tyrannosaurus Rex with its left eye rolled back and only the right eye left slowly approached his territory. Chapter 59, Encountering the Cyclops Tyrannosaurus Rex again, the second stage of the Big Boss. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. Spend 1,000 evolution points to exchange for the WarGreymon subspecies template. After the system crossed out 1,000 evolution points, a card with the image of WarGreymon appeared in Chu Xu's mind. He only needs to think about it and activate the card anytime and anywhere to transform into WarGreymon. Chu Xu was about to transform into WarGreymon to test its combat power. His telepathic perception suddenly caught the approach of an uninvited guest. It was a one-eyed male adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, slightly smaller than the dragon mother, 11 meters long, and roughly estimated to weigh 7 tons. The old wounds from the battlefield were embedded in its scales like a knife in an axe. The huge and majestic dragon body exuded a strong deterrent force just by walking. It's this one. Chu Xu was familiar with this one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex. More than half a year ago, he witnessed the other fighting with Dragon Dad for a mate, and finally lost. I didn't expect to meet it here again after such a long time. The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex also followed the herbivorous dinosaurs to migrate here. As a single dragon, he has not found a suitable territory. All the way to the coast of the western inland seaway, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex also smelled the scent of another Tyrannosaurus Rex, indicating that this was the latter's territory. But the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex could also smell that the other party seemed to be an underage young Tyrannosaurus Rex. The mortality rate of adolescent Tyrannosaurus Rex is also not low, because they have begun to live independently. Without the protection of their parents, they are likely to be targeted by other more powerful predatory dinosaurs. Compared with other Dakitoraptors and Tyrannosaurus Rex, adult Tyrannosaurus Rex of the same kind is even more threatening to it. Any Tyrannosaurus Rex, who wants to survive from infancy to adulthood, needs to go through a cruel test that ordinary people can hardly imagine. Therefore, the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex that can be encountered in reality must have gone through countless battles and blood since childhood. This is the real capital of them being called dinosaur tyrants. Roar! The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex did not take the young Tyrannosaurus Rex seriously at all. He walked into this territory with a leisurely pace. When he came to a tree, he raised his tail and sprayed a stream of urine on the tree, intending to mark this place as his new territory. Roar! At this moment, a shocking roar sounded, accompanied by rolling waves and a large area of flying sand and rocks. The oppression and deterrence contained in it made the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex's movement stiff. Then what appeared in the right eye of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex was a young Tyrannosaurus Rex with bone armor on his face and a triangle on his head. His forelimbs were particularly slender. His appearance was so strange that he had never seen it in his more than 20 years of life. However, he had an absolute advantage in size, so no matter how weird the opponent looked, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex felt that he had a sure win. Roar! The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex responded with a roar of contempt, and the meaning was very direct, telling the opponent to get out immediately, and this territory would belong to him from now on. The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex also wanted to avoid a battle that could be avoided, and it was the best strategy to defeat the enemy without fighting. I originally thought that without a sandbag to practice, it would be difficult to test the strength of the Tyrannosaurus subspecies, and it just so happened that you came to the door yourself. Chu Xu naturally heard the meaning of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex's roar, but he sneered in his heart and did not make any concessions. HMPH. Seeing that the opponent was unmoved, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex blew out a thunderous breath, and his eyes suddenly became violent and fierce. Roar! The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex took a big step and rushed towards Chu Xu, determined to teach this ignorant young Tyrannosaurus a lesson. Its speed was not fast, but it was full of power when it ran, and the whole land trembled violently. Roar! Chu Xu's muscles were also tense, his skin was bulging, and his heart was speeding up. His speed reached the highest peak when he jumped with his hind legs, like a sharp arrow off the string, and the weeds were crushed wherever he passed. Crash! Chu Xu's original strength was not inferior to that of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex. At this time, he was able to double his strength, and his momentum was like a tidal wave. In an instant, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex felt the sharp wind blowing in his face, and his cheeks even hurt and bled. Bang! Exclamation mark. The two sides collided violently, and the ribs of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex suddenly made a crackling sound, as if all its internal organs were displaced. The huge dragon body turned pale as if struck by lightning, flew out backwards, and fell heavily to the ground. The first round of collision alone caused the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex to suffer a lot of trauma. That's it? Come again. Chu Xu did not take this opportunity to pursue the victory. Instead, he stood there leisurely and hooked his dragon claws at the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex, who had struggled to get up. Roar! The right eye of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex was bloodshot, and it roared in anger. It was simply intolerable for the proud one to be injured by a young Tyrannosaurus Rex. But the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex did not despise Chu Xu anymore. The opponent was not big in size, but his strength was amazing. A head-on collision would definitely be a disadvantage for him, and he had to attack its weakness from the side. The weakness of the Tyrannosaurus Rex is its neck and back. The experienced one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex then roamed around and went around Chu Xu's side, looking for his flaws and then striking him down with one strike. Little did he know that Chu Xu's telepathic perception could see and predict the intentions and even the next move of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex clearly. Shoo! Seizing a flaw of Chu Xu, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex attacked again, opened its bloody mouth, and revealed its thick banana teeth, aiming to bite Chu Xu's neck. However, Chu Xu was quicker to attack, and a lightning-fast claw strike passed through in milliseconds, tearing the remaining right eye of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex alive, and blood instantly dyed its eye socket red. Roar! The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex, whose right eye was injured and both eyes were completely blind, let out a hysterical howl of pain and became completely crazy. In this situation, it still opened its fangs and mouth violently and bit Chu Xu's unguarded neck. Catcha! The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex bit Chu Xu's neck as he wished. The veins on his head bulged and nodded. The terrifying bite force and the indestructible banana teeth suddenly exploded. Any adult Tyrannosaurus Rex would be fatally threatened if bitten. Suddenly, a crisp cracking sound was heard. It was not the sound of Chu Xu's cervical vertebrae being bitten off, but the sound of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex's teeth breaking. Roar! The severe pain that rushed straight to the brain made the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex open its mouth reflexively. In the end, not only did it not hurt Chu Xu a hair, but it also broke a large piece of his sharp teeth that he relied on for survival. Yes, just a drop of blood fell. It's time to enter the second stage of the form. Chu Xu, who turned into a big boss, removed the liquid armor covering his neck, wiped the non-existent drop of blood with his slender forelimbs, and then activated the subspecies template card in his mind. Tyrannosaurus Rex mutated, Earth Tyrannosaurus Rex. Chapter 60 The best tribute to the dinosaur tyrant's reputation. Breaking through the limits of the race. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. Tyrannosaurus Rex mutates into Earth Tyrannosaurus. Suddenly, the entire card burst into brilliant light, transforming into countless new digital genes that merged into Chu Xu's body. Crack, crack, crack. In a short period of time, Chu Xu's dragon body changed dramatically again, and the hot heat continued to wash over the muscles of his whole body. The head and neck muscles, chest muscles, shoulder muscles, arm muscles, back muscles, abdominal muscles, leg muscles, tail muscles. Chu Xu's muscles from head to tail almost contracted and stretched like springs at the same time, twitching violently. Soon, you can see that the muscle groups in various parts of Chu Xu's body have become more tightly knotted, with blocks and layers. Each muscle seems to be carved from marble, with smooth and full lines, and extremely explosive. In addition, Chu Xu's face armor, shoulders, arms and other parts of the body suddenly grew sharp horns from under the surface muscles, flashing a chilling edge. Earth Tyrannosaurus Rex. Although there has been no change in his size, Chu Xu's strength and physical attributes have been greatly improved. The many sharp horns growing on his body are as developed as weapons, with even more terrible lethality. The Earth Tyrannosaurus also has a more powerful special move. The first is the upgraded version of the small explosion, Super Explosion, which accumulates super flames in the mouth and then spurts out a large-scale explosion in one breath. The second is the upgraded version of the Giant Horn Impact, Giant Horn Assault, which allows sharp giant horns to grow from various parts of the body, and then launches a charge to cause a fatal attack on the enemy. Unfortunately, the blind one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex could not see Chu Xu's domineering transformation process at all. But it has already felt the threat of death, and the original irritable and violent aura on its body has disappeared, replaced by incomparable fear, and it turned around and fled in panic at the first time. The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex has never encountered a Tyrannosaurus Rex as terrible as Chu Xu, who is obviously not big in size, but has infinite power and is impeccable. Even the Tyrannosaurus Queen, who dominated the main river basin of the Missouri River and made all the Tyrannosaurus Rex in this area bow down to her, did not give it such a sense of oppression. Chu Xu stood still, but a raging fire began to brew in the depths of his throat. The one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex could not see, but its sense of smell and hearing were still very sharp. When it realized that Chu Xu did not catch up, it thought it had luckily saved its life. Who? But suddenly, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex felt a high-temperature heat wave sweeping behind it. Just by being touched by the heat wave, its skin began to crack and rot, and it suffered extremely serious burns. Boom! Following closely behind, there was a ball of super flames that burned the sky and the earth, sweeping out with the momentum of burning everything. The super flames roared over the entire body of the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the terrifying high temperature almost melted its body instantly. Bang! The next second, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex, which was completely engulfed by the super flame, exploded. The sound of a landslide spread over dozens of miles. The scorching flames shot up into the sky, forming a rolling mushroom cloud. The shock wave formed by the explosion also broke the surrounding trees and vegetation in half. A large amount of wood chips and gravel splashed freely. The whole area was like being baptized by an earthquake, and the dust and smoke kept rumbling. Super explosion. Chu Xu, who was in the center of the storm, stood still and let the tearing wind blow in his face. The power of the super explosion was beyond his imagination. It was no less than a conventional missile. When it evolves into the complete form of mechanical Tyrannosaurus, its ultimate move will be as powerful as a nuclear missile. Then how strong will the ultimate form of WarGreymon be? It is estimated that even if the asteroid fragment from outer space really attacks, it can be directly intercepted and destroyed, right? Exclamation mark. Under the power of the super explosion, the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex was dead beyond death, and it was truly reduced to ashes. Only a pile of powder and dust flew up with a shock wave, floating in the air and could not be distinguished. Ling. You hunted a Tyrannosaurus Rex, evolution points plus 200. Soon, Chu Xu's ears also rang with the system prompt 200 evolution points. Not bad, it was worth playing with this one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex for so long. After simply cleaning up the messy flames on the ground, Chu Xu lifted the subspecies mutation state and returned to Tyrannosaurus Rex. The adult Tyrannosaurus Rex that once seemed huge and invincible, he could now defeat and hunt it by himself. This also means that Chu Xu has truly joined the ranks of the top predators of the late Cretaceous, and this one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex is the best tribute to his reputation as a dinosaur tyrant. 3 months have passed since Chu Xu officially started to live independently. The dry season is about to end, and the resources in the southern part of the Laramidia subcontinent have been exhausted by many herbivorous dinosaurs, so they have begun to migrate northward one after another. A tree that moves will die, and a person that moves will live. This is also true for animals. Migration is to pursue a better life. However, Chu Xu was not in a hurry to leave. He still adhered to the principle of stable development and hunted on land most of the time. Chu Xu's reputation has frightened countless herbivorous dinosaurs. Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, Ankylosaurs, Pachycephalosaurs, and strange dragons have all been killed by him. In addition, carnivorous dinosaurs are no exception. Many Stygian raptors, Troodon, and Decadoraptors that broke into Chu Xu's territory were slaughtered without leaving a single one. Now within Chu Xu's territory, there are almost no living creatures. I am afraid that the dinosaurs distributed within 100 miles have already known his fierce reputation and run as far as possible. Alice, am I really that scary? Yes, I am indeed quite scary. The dinosaur cubs of the Cretaceous period would stop crying at night upon hearing my name. Chu Xu was somewhat helpless, and sighed as he looked at his reflection on the river surface. The attribute panel was expanded. Name, Chu Xu. Age, 1 year and 5 months. Race, Tyrannosaurus. Male. Growth stage, adolescence. 4-dimensional attributes. Strength 6,800, agility 6,500, constitution 7,000, spirit 6,800, evolution points 50, skills, flame claw, flame fang, flash charge, high speed movement, special moves, small flame, small explosion, super flame, giant horn impact, achievements, overlord's talent, intermediate, telepathic perception, intermediate, fluid armament, intermediate, subspecies template exchanged, Earth Tyrannosaurus, next evolution form, machine Tyrannosaurus. In 2 months, Chu Xu's 4-dimensional attributes more than doubled, and his body size also ushered in an unprecedented surge. After entering adolescence, the physical growth rate of the Tyrannosaurus Rex will be greatly improved, and the weight can increase by 4 to 5 kilograms every day, and it can increase by 1 ton or more in a year. Chu Xu's physical growth rate is even more abnormal. With a large number of evolutionary points to strengthen the 4-dimensional attributes, he can grow by 60 to 70 kilograms a day, and his weight will increase by 1 ton or more in a month. So now his weight has increased from 4 tons to 7 tons, his body length exceeds 10 meters, and his height reaches 5 meters. In terms of body size alone, it is equivalent to an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex over 18 years old. And this body size is far from reaching the upper limit of Tyrannosaurus Rex. As long as there are enough evolutionary points, Chu Xu's body size will continue to soar at this wild growth momentum. As far as Chu Xu knows, the largest Tyrannosaurus Rex individual discovered by later paleontologists is 12.8 meters long and weighs 11.5 tons, which is probably the limit of its species. Chu Xu estimates that he should be able to exceed the limit of the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the near future. Chapter 61, Cretaceous Beast, Ancient Centaur Lizard. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. At dusk that day, it began to drizzle in Chu Xu's territory. The drizzle was accompanied by a breeze, and the sound of the rain falling was like the sound of a soft piano, melodiously spreading in the air. On a bare tree whose leaves had been eaten by herbivorous dinosaurs, a petite Cretaceous beast hid at the entrance of the tree hole, poking out its little head and secretly peeking out, looking timid. Cretaceous beast, a small mammal of the Cretaceous beast of the primitive Eutherian subclass, was only about 20 centimeters long and looked like a tree shrew. In the late Cretaceous, when dinosaurs had not yet become extinct, Cretaceous beasts might have been just a tiny creature at the bottom of the food chain, insignificant. But in the Cenozoic era after the mass extinction of the dinosaurs, Cretaceous beasts seized the opportunity to step onto the big stage of biological evolution and gradually evolved into the famous microdontia of the Cenozoic era. The microdonts are the common ancestors of the later carnivores, and they differentiated into two major groups, the feliforms and caniforms, including the common cats, canines, bears, weasels and other common beasts. The little chalk beast was lying at the entrance of the tree hole. Its mother went out hunting early this morning and has not returned yet. The mother's warning to it is still fresh in its mind. The outside world is full of dangers, and it cannot go out alone anyway. But the little chalk beast, whose stomach was growling with hunger, could not bear it any longer, so it had to take the risk of leaving the tree hole and going outside to check the situation. Squeak! The little chalk beast looked left and right with its big eyes, but did not see anything unusual, and only heard the sound of raindrops falling on the grass. After hesitating for a long time, the little chalk beast finally got out of the tree hole and crawled down along the tall and thick tree trunk. It wanted to find its mother, but the grassland in front of it was so vast that it didn't know where to find its mother. Suddenly, in the grass that was also eaten bare by herbivorous dinosaurs, the little Cretaceous beast found a black beetle, which was the delicious food that its mother often brought back to it. Hungry drove the little Cretaceous beast to approach the beetle step by step, wanting to catch it as food. But the little Cretaceous beast had never tried hunting before, and did not know how to hide its body. The inadvertent movement suddenly disturbed the beetle, which immediately raised its wing elytra, spread its wings and flew away. Squeak! The little Cretaceous beast was anxious and accelerated to chase the beetle, but how could it catch up with a flying beetle? After a while, the beetle disappeared. The little Cretaceous beast searched around for a long time, but could not find the beetle. The first hunting failed, and the physical exhaustion made its stomach even hungrier. The dejected little Cretaceous beast was ready to go home, so it was better to wait for its mother to come back at home. But at this time, a hissing sound of sticking out the tongue sounded from not far away, and a huge lizard appeared. This is a Gusanova lizard, a reptile of the family Varanidae in the order Squamata. It is over 3 meters long and weighs up to 200 kilograms, which is comparable to the largest lizard in later generations, the Komodo dragon. Like other monitor lizards, the Gusanova lizard has a flat and wide head, a pair of eyes on both sides, and a large mouth full of curved and sharp teeth with serrated structures on the edges to facilitate cutting of skin and muscles. Its signature feature is the bone-forming scales in the skin, which have extremely strong defensive power. As if wearing an invisible chain mail, there is also a hinge-like joint at the connection between the upper and lower jaws, which allows the jaw joint to detach and open outward during eating, maximizing the opening and closing of the mouth to assist swallowing. The Gusanova lizard's diet includes birds, small mammals, and small dinosaurs. Its saliva, like the Komodo dragon, contains terrible bacteria and venom, which can cause the blood vessels of the bitten person to dilate and the blood cannot coagulate, causing muscle paralysis, and eventually leading to shock and death from excessive blood loss. Hiss! The Gusanova lizard has a very keen sense of smell. Its forked tongue is like a radar antenna, picking up the smell in the breeze. It quickly caught the scent of its prey. The Gusanova lizard was immediately excited, and quickly moved its sturdy limbs to rush towards the location of the little white beast. Squeak! Soon, the little white beast noticed the movement and looked in the direction of the sound. It thought it was its mother who came back, but it never expected that it was a hideous and ugly big lizard. Hiss! The Gusanova lizard saw the little white beast, and its eyes lit up immediately. This is a rare delicacy. Although its body is bloated, the Gusanova lizard is actually not slow at all. After discovering its prey, it immediately rushed towards the little white beast at a short distance burst speed of 20 kilometers per hour. Squeak! 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 The little white beast was frightened and turned around and ran away, screaming as it ran, trying to call its mother. But the little Cretaceous beast's cry did not call for its mother, but for a figure that was much larger and more terrifying than the Gusanova lizard. For the little Cretaceous beast, it was simply an insurmountable mountain. Dinosaur. That was the land overlord that was more terrifying than this big lizard. The fear of it from the depths of the little Cretaceous beast's genes was aroused. Lucky, I met a little lizard just after I went out. Chu Xu jumped out in 2 steps and stepped on the head of the Gusanova lizard accurately, directly stepping on the head of the Gusanova lizard into a flat meat pie, and the latter's head was smeared on the grass with blood and brain juice. Ling. You hunted a goose and a lizard, evolution points plus 20. 20 evolution points are still a bit shabby, but considering that the other party was killed by a foot, it's barely acceptable. Like a venomous snake, the venom gland of the goose and lizard is in the head, so there is no need to worry about poisoning after removing the head and eating it. Chu Xu casually picked up the headless body of the ancient Sanua lizard and threw it into his big mouth to eat. The meat was not dry or greasy, very similar to chicken, and tasted pretty good. He had basically tasted the taste of the large lizards on land. When he had the chance one day, he must try the taste of the large marine lizard, Mosasaur. It was not until he finished eating the whole ancient Sanua lizard that Chu Xu found that there was a small mammal next to his feet. It was stiff, limbs were weak, and it was too scared to move. It was a Cretaceous beast, and it was the first time he saw it. Chu Xu basically ignored this little guy who was not even as big as his toes. Hunting them was not worth the loss. The evolution points were so few that they could be ignored, and there was not much meat, not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. However, Chu Xu, who was a paleontologist in his previous life, was a little interested in this Cretaceous beast that would shine in the future. He lowered his big head and looked at its whole body carefully. It was another ugly and cute loose mouse, but he could vaguely discern some shadows of the future carnivorous mammals. Squeak. Faced with such a ferocious head that was several times larger than itself, the little chalk beast jumped up in fear, then kicked its legs and fainted. Chu Xu smiled bitterly. He thought that if he left this little guy who fainted here, he might be targeted by other predators. So Chu Xu casually placed it on his palm and walked away with it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Beautiful Colors, Dragons and Beasts. Please read and recommend. It was unknown how long it had passed before the little Cretaceous beast woke up again. When it opened its eyes, it saw the familiar ferocious head, which frightened it so much that it dared not move. It was not until this moment that it understood its mother's warning that the outside world was too dangerous. Such a huge and terrifying monster actually existed. Chu Xu also saw the little Cretaceous beast wake up, so he put it on the ground and let it go on its own. Then he buried his head and continued to enjoy an Ankylosaurus that he had just hunted. Ankylosaurus, a medium-sized omnivorous dinosaur of the Oviraptorosaur family, was 3 meters long and weighed about 500 kilograms. It was the second largest Oviraptorosaur dinosaur. In fact, Oviraptorosaur dinosaurs did not make a living by stealing eggs. The first paleontologists who excavated their fossils found that the Oviraptorosaur was preserved together with a nest of dinosaur eggs, and mistakenly thought that the former was stealing eggs, so they gave it this name. Later, it was discovered that this nest of dinosaur eggs was laid by the Oviraptorosaur, and it was clearly incubating eggs instead of stealing eggs. However, the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature stipulates that named species must be based on their earliest valid names, so even if the Oviraptorosaur was so wronged, it could not be changed and has been preserved. The name of Ankylosaurus is often mistaken for Zoanosaurus. In fact, they do not have a fragrant mouth. Its genus name comes from the bird god Anzu in ancient Mesopotamian mythology. It is covered with feathers and has a crown on its head, just like a large walking chicken. Ankylosaurus and Strethiasmimus are omnivorous dinosaurs that feed on plant seeds, rhizomes, fruits or insects, fish, birds, and small mammals. Next, it is necessary to consider expanding the territory. The territory is still too small and the prey is still too little. Chu Xu thought to himself while eating. This Ankylosaurus was the prey he found with great difficulty. The meat tastes only average. If there are delicious and meaty herbivorous dinosaurs to choose from, he will not choose this kind of omnivorous dinosaur with a lot of hair and little meat. Squeak. After being put on the ground by Chu Xu, the little Cretaceous beast was still a little dazed, staying there and hugging the pitiful, weak and helpless self. After a while, it realized that the big dinosaur had no intention of eating it. The little Cretaceous beast wanted to leave quickly, but found that it had been taken to an unfamiliar area. It didn't know how to go home at all. Squeak. The little Cretaceous beast was anxiously turning around and calling for its mother. At the same time, Chu Xu had torn open the abdomen of Anzalong, preparing to eat its internal organs. He didn't know until he tore it open, but he was stunned when he tore it open. In Anzolong's stomach, there was a corpse of a Cretaceous beast that had not been digested. It looked exactly like the little Cretaceous beast next to it, but it was a little bigger. Squeak! The little Cretaceous beast suddenly saw its familiar mother and made a surprised cry. It came to the side of the adult Cretaceous beast and hid in her arms as usual, trying to find some warm and safe feeling. But the adult Cretaceous fur was covered with water stains, and it was freezing cold. Its body was so stiff that it could not move, and it could not respond. The little Cretaceous didn't know what was going on, and didn't know the concept of death. It just kept shouting at its mother's body. But no miracle happened. Suddenly, a few small insects fell out of the adult Cretaceous mouth. They were the food it was going to bring back to its children. The starving little Cretaceous opened its mouth and ate the small insects into its stomach, and finally felt a little warm from being full. It was so tired that it had completely forgotten what kind of strange and dangerous environment it was in. It seemed that it was not afraid as long as its mother was around. The little Cretaceous curled up in the arms of the adult Cretaceous and soon fell into deep sleep. Chu Xu, who was watching this scene silently, also pondered for a long time, with a lot of thoughts in his mind. This is an animal world where the strong prey on the weak, big fish eat small fish, and small fish eat shrimps, full of cold-bloodedness and cruelty. But this is also an animal world full of true love and warmth. The long-stigmatized oviraptorosaur will carefully take care of the dinosaur eggs it lays and raise its children. The little animals living under the shadow of the dragon will also go out to find food for their children regardless of danger, even if they lose their lives. Because of this, the beautiful colors of the world will never fade. While the little white Cretaceous beast was sleeping, Chu Xu reached out and dug a small hole on the spot, gently placed its mother in it, and buried it with soil. After doing all this, night had fallen, and the sky gradually changed to a black curtain, with bright moonlight and stars. Whenever he saw the moon and stars, Chu Xu would think of his dragon sisters and brothers, as well as the dragon mother who was as silent as the night but tolerant and gentle. I wonder how they are doing now? Looking at the moon and stars in the night sky, Chu Xu also crouched down, as if he slowly fell into a sweet dream with the company of his family. The next morning, when the little white creep-beast woke up from a sweet dream, the first thing it saw when it opened its eyes was still the huge and ferocious dinosaur head. But for some reason, it was no longer as scared as it was yesterday. Instead, it curiously poked its head out and looked at the rather strange-looking big head. Suddenly, the eyes of the big head opened, and the little white creep-beast reflexively stood up, fell backwards, and almost fainted again. Chu Xu, who also woke up from a sweet dream, opened his eyes and saw the little white creep-beast in front of him. Two turbulent air currents blew out of its nostrils, blowing its hair all over its body into a mess, and its little body almost flew up. Seeing the little guy in such a mess, Chu Xu couldn't help but feel a little funny. He slowly stood up and looked at the rising sun in the east. Then Chu Xu walked away, ready to start a new day. Squeak! Watching Chu Xu leave, the little chalk beast slowly recovered from its stiff state, took steps with its short limbs and followed. It seemed to understand a lot after waking up, knowing that its mother was gone, but it was weak and didn't know what to do, so it subconsciously wanted to find a new support. Chu Xu's casual step was enough to take a distance of 3 or 4 meters, which was a long distance for the little chalk beast. It grunted and crawled to catch up with him, barely able to keep up with his pace. Is this little guy relying on me? Chu Xu naturally noticed the little chalk beast's pursuit, so he stopped. As soon as he stopped, the little chalk beast also stopped. He continued to walk, and the little chalk beast hurriedly ran again. However, this time Chu Xu slowed down a little, allowing the little chalk beast behind him to follow closely. A dragon and a beast, thus moving forward together under the brilliant light of the rising sun, like a shadow following behind. P.S. WarGreymon's fusion accessories are here. The previous article modified the subspecies template of Greymon, deleting Blue Greymon and Greymon XW as virus species, leaving only Earth Greymon and Greymon X. Chapter 63, The Queen of Tyrannosaurus Rex. Battle of the Kings. Please read and recommend. The main channel of the Missouri River. On the vast delta plain, the Missouri River flows westward and turns eastward, like a winding jade dragon dancing, carrying snow water from the Rocky Mountains, lava from the Yellowstone volcano, and the hope of all living things, flowing silently on this land for tens of millions of years. Almost all dinosaurs migrating northward will also trace their way back along this mother river, just like pilgrims rushing step by step to the Holy Land in their hearts. At this time, the migrating army composed of herbivorous dinosaurs will march northward along the main channel of the Missouri River. Compared with the southward migration on the way here, this return migration to the north will be much easier. At least the terrible dry season has passed, and the green vegetation in the north has grown again, so there is no need to worry about water and food along the way. The only thing to worry about is the hunting of carnivorous dinosaurs. Having stayed in this delta plain for such a long time, many herbivorous dinosaurs have heard of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen that dominates the main river basin of the Missouri River. It rules an area of more than 100 square kilometers in the main river basin of the Missouri River, which is the area with the richest natural resources in this delta plain. Almost no prey that it targets can escape. Adult Edmontosaurus, adult Triceratops and even underage Alamosaurus have all died in its mouth. The number of similar Tyrannosaurus Rex hunted by it is as many as 2 palms, and the corpses piled up can form a small mountain. These similar Tyrannosaurus Rex are basically invaders who are ignorant of the sky and the earth and invade their territory to poach. As a result, they are slaughtered one by the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen, and their corpses are left in the wilderness to serve as a warning to others. So now, even though so many herbivorous dinosaurs are active in the main river basin of the Missouri River, no Tyrannosaurus Rex can be seen. The dwarf Tyrannosaurus and Decadoraptor dare not show up. At most, only small carnivorous dinosaurs such as the Styxraptor and the Troodon are ready to move. Roar! At this moment, a loud and deep roar rushed into the sky, and the originally calm ground was shaking violently. The migrating herbivorous dinosaurs turned their heads vigilantly and looked in the direction of the sound with doubt. Soon, they saw a huge female Tyrannosaurus Rex slowly appearing with lazy and casual steps. Its body length reached 13 meters, its head height exceeded 6 meters, and its skeleton was extremely huge, making its physique much more sturdy and tough than that of ordinary Tyrannosaurus Rex. The blocky explosive muscles moved with a pace, and the tonnage was definitely more than 10 tons, close to the racial limit of Tyrannosaurus Rex. The huge size is only one aspect. In its yellow-brown vertical pupils, there is a proud look of superiority, as if all the animals within its sight are just lambs to be slaughtered in its eyes. This is the true kingly temperament of Tyrannosaurus Rex, solitary and proud, looking down on all living things. Following the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen, there are 2 young Tyrannosaurus Rex, about 4 to 5 years old, approaching the age of independent life. Today is the day when the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen takes her children to conduct the final hunting test. As long as these 2 young Tyrannosaurus Rex can pass the test, the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen will also let them start living independently with confidence. Roar! At the command of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen, the 2 young Tyrannosaurus Rex immediately launched an offensive and each looked for a suitable hunting target. After all, their size is limited, and the hunting targets they can choose are only small and medium-sized herbivorous dinosaurs. Even so, frightened by the terrible reputation of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen, all the herbivorous dinosaurs of all sizes in the vicinity fled in panic, not daring to stay here any longer, for fear of becoming the dead souls under its bloody mouth. The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen just followed the 2 children slowly, without any intention of taking action, and yawned from time to time, as if she thought this low-end hunting game was too boring. It was not until a smell of a strange kind came from the air that the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen suddenly cheered up, and her expression suddenly became furious. Another Tyrannosaurus Rex who dared to invade her territory dared to do so. The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen took a big step without thinking and rushed in the direction of the smell. It seems that she has not moved her muscles for too long, so that the nearby Tyrannosaurus Rex thought she was old. Today, it will use the corpse of this invader to once again declare to all the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Delta Plain that the Queen's majesty cannot be violated. Horizontal ellipsis. At the same time, 2 uninvited guests, one large and one small, broke into the rich and fertile Missouri River main channel. I just smelled the scent mark of another Tyrannosaurus Rex. It seems that this is its territory. Yes, the resources here are indeed more abundant, Chu Xu, the invader, muttered to himself, and at the same time, he tightened his muscles, ready to enter the battle state at any time. This time he left his own territory and broke into the territory of other Tyrannosaurus Rex, with only one purpose: expand the territory. The original resource-scarce territory could no longer meet Chu Xu's growing hunting and evolution point needs, so there was only one choice in front of him: to expand the territory and seize more resources. Roar! Chu Xu, who had set his sights on this territory, was not polite. He looked up to the sky and let out a loud roar, directly sending an invasion signal to the lord of the territory, as if he was issuing a declaration of war to the other party. Squeak! The little chalk beast following behind Chu Xu also felt the murderous aura in the air, and hurriedly dug a hole on the spot, and only felt relieved when it hid its entire body in the deep soil. Roar! Soon, Chu Xu heard the response of the lord of the territory, as well as the roar of the other party running over and the violent shaking of the ground. During the release of telepathic perception, Chu Xu caught the other party's figure from a distance, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink slightly. This was the first time he saw an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex with such an exaggerated size. The normal range of the size of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex is 11 to 12 meters long and weighs between 7 and 9 tons. Female Tyrannosaurus Rex is often larger than male Tyrannosaurus Rex. And this female Tyrannosaurus Rex, whether in length or weight, is far beyond the normal range, close to the limit of the species, and can be called the giant among Tyrannosaurus Rex, a well-deserved queen. Chu Xu was not surprised but happy. Since he hunted down the one-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex, he had actually encountered many other adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, but they were all vulnerable and were ravaged before the warm-up process was over. This Tyrannosaurus Rex queen looked much stronger than an ordinary adult Tyrannosaurus Rex. Should she be able to fight him? The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen soon appeared in front of Chu Xu, and her eyes were also a little surprised. She had never seen a Tyrannosaurus Rex with such a strange appearance. However, no matter what the other party looked like, it was an intruder, and she had only one attitude towards intruders. Roar! The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen opened her bloody mouth, revealing her deadly banana teeth, and her scorching breath baked the weeds and shrubs on the ground. The strong hind legs standing on the ground looked like cast iron. The claws were unsheathed and pierced into the soil, and the thick tail stood upright, stretched straight like a gun. This was the standard attack posture of the Tyrannosaurus Rex before a battle. The deafening roar sounded, with a sense of majesty and domineering that was breathtaking. Chapter 64, Warm-up is over, let's start the killing spree. Please read and recommend. Roar! Chu Xu also roared, his voice louder and more passionate than the Tyrannosaurus queen. It was indeed a hard-won pleasure to find a fellow who could barely fight. Chu Xu promised not to use his special moves to bully the opponent, and to have a fair melee. Bang! The next second, the Tyrannosaurus queen took the lead and rushed over like a thunderbolt, trying to crush Chu Xu with the absolute advantage of strength and size. Chu Xu did not intend to avoid her, but went straight up to her. Since the opponent wanted to fight head-on, he would do as she wished. Crash! Bang! Without any fancy moves, Chu Xu and the Tyrannosaurus queen collided with each other, and an invisible impact spread between the two. Amid the loud noise, the surging airflow raised dust all around, and the ground suddenly shattered and collapsed in the huge earthquake. Squeak, squeak, squeak. This scared the little white creep-beast hiding in the cave. It was really a fight between gods, and mortals suffered. Fortunately, the cave it dug was deep enough, otherwise it would have turned into a pile of meat patties. At the same time, the moment the Tyrannosaurus Rex collided with Chu Xu, she felt a domineering force she had never felt before, which made her fly backwards and fall heavily to the ground. Stars appeared in front of her eyes, her chest was stuffy, and several ribs were broken. Chu Xu stood still as a mountain, and won the pure strength competition. Now Chu Xu's strength attribute is more than twice that of an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex. He can easily burst out more than 60 tons of strength. With a blessing of skills, it can be doubled again. Hundreds of tons of strength have made him invincible. Even if the size and strength of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen in front of him are stronger than ordinary Tyrannosaurus Rex, it still pales in comparison with Chu Xu. Roar! The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen quickly climbed up again. Although the injury from the previous attack was not light, it did not affect her movement. Her eyes were full of anger and gloom. Obviously, she did not expect that she would be suppressed by a Tyrannosaurus Rex that was much smaller and younger than her. The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen took the initiative to launch an offensive again, opening her bloody mouth that had killed countless dragons. She wanted to prove that she would always be the king of Tyrannosaurus Rex and would not lose to any of her kind. but Chu Xu's actions were faster than it. Before the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen could react, a figure that suddenly appeared like a dragon and a tiger appeared strangely beside her, and bit down with the same sharp banana teeth. Snap! Exclamation mark. After a bite, a large piece of meat on the back of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen's neck was suddenly missing, and the white bones in it were clearly visible. The blood stained her body, as if she was wearing a bloody coat. Roar! The Tyrannosaurus queen screamed in pain. It had never been injured so badly before. The blood and pain made it almost crazy. It wanted to bite Chu Xu desperately. Swish! However, in addition to the sharp teeth, Chu Xu's whole body was full of deadly weapons. While tearing off the flesh of the Tyrannosaurus queen, his forelimbs shot out with sharp claws. Several crisscrossing claws tore through the air and landed on the latter's fragile eyes. In an instant, blood gushed out of the eyes of the Tyrannosaurus queen, and her eyeballs disappeared. Her vision was instantly deprived, and she fell into chaotic darkness. From this moment on, the rhythm of the entire battle was firmly controlled by Chu Xu. Roar! The situation took a sharp turn for the worse. The Tyrannosaurus queen, who had lost her eyesight, was no longer as majestic and proud as before. She completely lost the desire to fight. She dared not entangle with Chu Xu anymore and turned around to escape. Chu Xu had just finished warming up, so how could he let the Tyrannosaurus queen go easily? Roar! Chu Xu's scarlet vertical pupils locked onto the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen, and two blazing flames burst out from under his hind legs. The next second, the two flames remained in place, but his huge dragon body flashed in front of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen at an astonishing speed, turning into a terrifying shadow and knocking her to the ground. Roar! 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 The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen, who was knocked to the ground, struggled desperately, but could not get rid of Chu Xu's huge force at all, and became a fish on the chopping board to be slaughtered. Chu Xu ruthlessly bit and tore with his claws, turning into a meat grinder, harvesting the flesh and blood of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen. Roar! 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 Rip! Rip! The Tyrannosaurus Rex queen's wailing and the sound of flesh and blood tearing were endless. In a short time, there was no intact skin and flesh left on her body, only the horrible broken bones were shaking. It never thought that it would not only lose this battle, but also lose its life. It was unknown how long it had been before the Tyrannosaurus queen's wailing finally whimpered and she died completely. The reign of the once invincible Tyrannosaurus queen came to an end today. Ling. You have hunted a Tyrannosaurus Rex, evolution points plus 300. When Chu Xu stopped, the system prompt sounded 300 evolution points, 100 points higher than that of an ordinary adult Tyrannosaurus Rex. From now on, this territory belongs to me. Chu Xu ignored the corpse of the Tyrannosaurus queen and left it exposed here as proof of his taking over her territory, to warn all the animals that were previously ruled by her. Just as Chu Xu was about to inspect the new territory and mark it with his own mark, he saw two young Tyrannosaurus Rex rushing over, each holding a prey. These two young Tyrannosaurus Rex were the children of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen. They had caught prey and were going to bring it back to their mother, but what they saw was their mother's corpse and another strange adult Tyrannosaurus Rex covered in blood. Chu Xu just glanced at them indifferently, and the two young Tyrannosaurus Rex were so scared that they left the prey and ran away in a hurry. Chu Xu was too lazy to chase them. The two young Tyrannosaurus Rex were not worth many evolutionary points. Anyway, they were old enough to live independently, so he just let them live out there. However, seeing them, Chu Xu couldn't help but think of his sister and brother. They were even younger, and they still had several years to live independently. With their mother protecting them, they didn't have to worry too much. Moreover, Chu Xu had been expanding his territory during this period, and by the way, he had hunted a lot of Tyrannosaurus Rex and other carnivorous dinosaurs, which could be regarded as solving potential threats nearby for them. After the episode, Chu Xu continued to inspect the new territory. It turned out that the herbivorous dinosaurs passing by were scared away by the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Only a group of truly giant dinosaurs, Alamosaurus, remained calm and seemed to not take the latter seriously at all. As expected, the bigger the size, the more confident it is. It just happened that I just warmed up for a while, and now I can finally start killing. At the request of some readers, the name of Dragon Girl was modified in the previous article. Thank you for your support. Chapter 65, I am not afraid of godlike opponents, but I am afraid of teammates who are like pigs. Please read and recommend. The Tyrannosaurus herd migrated around every day in search of food. Their appetite was amazing. A small family of more than a dozen Tyrannosaurus could eat a forest in one day. Today's dinner is decided to be you. Looking at this group of Tyrannosaurus that were much larger than himself, Chu Xu was eager to try. Even hunting Tyrannosaurus Rex was no longer challenging for him now, so the only thing on land that could interest him a little was the Tyrannosaurus. And they were not juvenile Tyrannosaurus, but adult Tyrannosaurus that were 25 meters long and weighed more than 30 tons. Roar! The deafening roar spread across the peaceful grassland. Any herbivorous dinosaur that heard the iconic roar of the Tyrannosaurus Rex would recall the fear of their ancestors being dominated by the dinosaur tyrants and flee in fear. However, the group of Tyrannosaurus that were strolling leisurely ignored him and continued to eat. It seemed that there was no DNA in their genes passed down from generation to generation that was afraid of carnivorous dinosaurs. Very good, I like your unruly appearance. Chu Xu nodded with satisfaction. He did not choose to attack directly, but walked towards the group of Tyrannosaurus step by step. Squeak! It turned out that because there was no movement from the outside world, the little white beast that had just emerged hurriedly went back into the cave after seeing this scene. I am afraid that the next storm will be even more violent. Seeing Chu Xu approaching step by step, the group of Tyrannosaurus became a little alert. The adult Tyrannosaurus hurriedly protected the only remaining little Tyrannosaurus in their group. Large sauropod dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus have a much longer lifespan than short-lived Tyrannosaurus Rex, and can live to 80 to 100 years old. However, few Tyrannosaurus can live to the end of their lives, and even fewer can live to adulthood. They lay a maximum of 5 to 6 eggs each time, but the adult rate is less than 1 in 1,000. The reason is not only the predation of carnivorous dinosaurs, but even some large herbivorous dinosaurs will deliberately bully and kill their weak cubs to prevent the latter from competing for food after they grow up. Therefore, the Tyrannosaurus attach great importance to the protection of their cubs. Any enemy who dares to harm them will be attacked by these giants. Several adult Tyrannosaurus supported the ground with their hind legs and tails, raised their forelimbs high, stood up, and shouted a warning to Chu Xu, casting a huge shadow that even the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex pales in comparison. This is the typical self-defense posture of large sauropod dinosaurs. They rely on their huge and heavy bodies. If a carnivorous dinosaur attacks without thinking, they will trample on it with their forelimbs. The weight of dozens of tons or even nearly 100 tons is enough to crush any enemy into a meat pie. Roar! Facing the warning of the Tyrannosaurus, Chu Xu turned away wisely. It was not until he was far away that the Tyrannosaurus felt relieved, put down their forelimbs, and continued to stretch their necks to eat the tender leaves and branches on the tall trees. Unexpectedly, at the moment when the Tyrannosaurus relaxed their vigilance, Chu Xu turned around and suddenly burst out with amazing speed, instantly swept across a distance of hundreds of meters, and approached the Tyrannosaurus again. The slow-reacting Tyrannosaurus could not react at all. Bang! Chu Xu kicked his hind legs and crushed the ground. The dragon body weighing more than 6 tons actually jumped up with extraordinary agility and swiftness, and flew towards the nearest adult Tyrannosaurus. The claws of the front limbs hooked the back of the Tyrannosaurus, and the claws of the hind limbs kicked the lower abdomen of the Tyrannosaurus. Chu Xu swung his long and thick tail, and used the force to jump forward again. After a set of smooth movements, he drove his whole body to right on the back of the Tyrannosaurus. This kind of iconic bouncing action of the Dromaeosauridae is simply impossible for an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it is still a piece of cake for Chu Xu. The pounce of such a heavyweight body is a bit too much for the Tyrannosaurus. Its limbs staggered, and its body tilted, like a building collapsing, and it fell to the ground with a bang, and smoke and dust billowed into the sky. Seeing this, the other Tyrannosaurus were all horrified, and they all wanted to step forward to help their companions. Crack! Exclamation mark. At this time, Chu Xu, who had pounced on the Tyrannosaurus, ignored the bone plate covering its body surface, and used the liquid weapon to strengthen his bloody mouth, strengthening his attack power, and then suddenly closed his upper and lower jaws to bite the neck of the Tyrannosaurus. The neck of the Tyrannosaurus was also extremely thick and even larger than the head of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, so Chu Xu did not think of biting off its neck in one bite, but used the armed banana teeth to pierce the skin and flesh of the neck, and twisted the joint of the cervical vertebrae in one bite. After this bite, the neck of the Tyrannosaurus could no longer move flexibly, and it collapsed to the ground like a dead snake. After that, there was only one fate waiting for it. Finally, the other Alamosaurus arrived, and they suddenly raised their forelimbs with the same hatred of the enemy, and gave Chu Xu a real tension pressure. Chu Xu did not dare to resist, and jumped out without any hesitation, avoiding the death trampling of a group of Alamosaurus in time. Bang! 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 The weight of dozens of tons rolled down violently, and the dust surged up, making the earth wail endlessly. The more shrill wails were mixed with the stomping sounds of the Alamosaurus. The reason was that Chu Xu had escaped, so the Alamosaurus trampled on the bodies of their companions. When the smoke and dust cleared, it could be seen that the Alamosaurus that fell to the ground was trampled into a bloody mess by its companions, and was dying. Its bones and internal organs were obviously seriously damaged, and a large amount of blood kept flowing out, quickly forming a shocking pool of blood. Chu Xu couldn't help but sigh when he saw this scene. Originally, he had to spend some time to kill this Alamosaurus, but its teammates actually gave him assists. What is this called? This is called not being afraid of godlike opponents, but being afraid of pig-like teammates. These Alamosaurus have huge bodies, but their brains are only the size of tennis balls. They have low intelligence, and it is not the first time that they have betrayed their teammates and assisted their opponents. After accidentally injuring their teammates, the Alamosaurus all raised their heads to the sky and howled, like cuckoos crying blood, full of sorrow. Then, they pointed their spearheads at Chu Xu and rushed over with big strides, with a fierce momentum to avenge their companions. Chapter 66, The New Tyrannosaurus Rex King. How lonely it is to be invincible. Seeking recommendation tickets. The angry elephants in the previous life were scary enough, but Chu Xu was now facing an Alamosaurus that was several times bigger than an elephant. The momentum of more than 10 adult Alamosaurus was enough to scare any animal away just by hearing the sound of the earth shaking violently and seeing the momentum of the smoke and dust sweeping across the sky. Under such circumstances, Chu Xu naturally could not hide his strength anymore, and activated the subspecies template card again. The second stage is on. Tyrannosaurus Rex mutates into Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar. In an instant, Chu Xu transformed into Tyrannosaurus Rex. His muscles and bones made a blasting sound, and his muscles expanded more than twice, with veins bulging as if they were about to burst. The surface of his body was covered with huge horns that emitted cold light, so sharp that it seemed to cut his eyeballs at a glance. Hoo! Facing the trampling charge of the Alamosaurus, Chu Xu did not dodge or evade. His throat seemed to have become a high-temperature and high-pressure cannon barrel. A raging fire burned up, and after continuous compression, it was finally fired out of the barrel, turning into a huge flame with smoke and flames that swept towards the Alamosaurus. Super explosion. An Alamosaurus running in front was the first to be hit. Most of its body was swallowed by the whistling giant flame, and it let out a terrified howl. Every time the super hot flame licked, it was like a bloody mouth biting off a large piece of flesh and blood from the Alamosaurus body, and the internal organs and bones were melted under the high temperature. Boom boom. As the howl of this Alamosaurus fell, the giant flame covering its body exploded violently, turning its huge dragon body into scattered limbs and flesh, which splashed for an unknown distance. After the leading Alamosaurus was killed, an even more terrifying wave of flame swept wildly from the center of the explosion, covering the dozen or so Alamosaurus that followed behind. Those that were closer were knocked to the ground, and the raging fire even spread to their bodies. Those that were farther away were also burned on a large area of their bodies, becoming charred and rotten at a speed visible to the naked eye, and emitting bursts of white smoke. Under this attack, the Alamosaurus were already in chaos. Giant horn assault. Flashing flame charge. Chu Xu's offensive did not stop, combining skills with special moves together, and the raging fire burning all over his body completely enveloped it. Each of the giant horns was burning red and extremely high. Boom. The huge fireball that Chu Xu turned into rushed towards the chaotic Alamosaurus in an instant, and the long fire tail dragged out brilliantly, leaving a stunning trail. Bang! An adult Alamosaurus weighing at least 30 tons was hit by Chu Xu, and it couldn't resist his overwhelming force and was thrown away fiercely. The part that was hit was torn open by the hot horn, and its almost cooked internal organs flowed all over the ground. It died on the spot. Double kill. In addition to the Alamosaurus that was severely injured by its companion, there were already 3 adult Alamosaurus lying on the ground. This caused a great impact on the small number of Alamosaurus. The pain of being burned by the fire or scalded by the heat wave made them feel unprecedented fear. And the Tyrannosaurus were finally scared, dragging their bodies with different degrees of injuries and turned to flee. They had never seen a predator as terrifying as Chu Xu, and from now on, they were afraid that they would have to write him into the genealogy of their tribe. Huh? Chu Xu did not pursue, and exhaled a long breath of foul air. In fact, he had consumed most of his physical strength. First, he fought with the Tyrannosaurus queen, and then fought against the Tyrannosaurus. It was a hearty and satisfying fight. Ling. You hunted an Tyrannosaurus, evolution points plus 500, x2 an adult Tyrannosaurus, worth 500 evolution points, made Chu Xu even more surprised. By the way, he also killed the Tyrannosaurus that was seriously injured by his companions. Chu Xu immediately gained 1,500 evolution points. With the 300 evolution points from hunting the Tyrannosaurus queen, today's harvest is almost 2,000 points. Sure enough, expanding the territory is a correct choice. When he seizes the entire delta plain, he will really become a dinosaur landlord with a stronghold on one side, and prey will come to him uninvited in an endless stream. He immersed himself in enjoying the meat of the Tyrannosaurus. The taste was surprisingly good, with firm meat and a mellow taste. If there was time, he would bring one to the dragon mother's territory so that they could have a taste. Squeak. The little white beast, who had been hiding in the cave for shelter, did not dare to come out again until this moment. Looking at the wounds and mess on the ground, he could not help but feel a little chill. Those super large long-necked dinosaurs were killed just like that? The little white beast, which had not eaten yet, was hungry again. It did not dare to approach the super large long-necked dinosaurs. Even if the other party was dead, it would not be able to enjoy it. It would rather find small insects or plant leaves and fruits that suited it to eat. This time, the little white beast was very lucky. It found a caterpillar nearby. The caterpillar, which could only crawl slowly, could not escape from its palm and was grabbed and eaten. Delicious. This was the first time that the little white beast caught prey by itself, and it felt that the taste was particularly delicious. Roar. At this moment, a familiar shout was heard. Chu Xu had already eaten and drunk his fill, dragging the corpse of the Tyrannosaurus back. The little Cretaceous beast swallowed the food whole, and hurried to catch up with Chu Xu. In the next few days, the news about the change of ownership in the main river basin of the Missouri River spread like wildfire. Almost all the dinosaurs in the vast delta plain knew that the undefeated Tyrannosaurus Rex queen had died, and was replaced by a male Tyrannosaurus Rex with a strange appearance but even more terrifying. His speed was amazing, as fast as lightning, and even the running champion among dinosaurs, the Struthiomimus, could not escape from his palm. His strength was powerful, and he could take any large and giant herbivorous dinosaurs such as adult Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, and even Alamosaurus as food. His fighting power was even more terrifying. Those carnivorous dinosaurs that were eager to move after the death of the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen and came to test his strength were all slaughtered and exposed without exception. As a result, the reputation of this newly crowned Tyrannosaurus Rex was deeply imprinted in the minds of all dinosaurs, forcing them to succumb to the fear of being dominated by him. Alice, being invincible, is so lonely. Chu Xu, who was the focus, also felt lonely and lonely. It was difficult to find an enemy who could fight with him. He had already hunted down the Sky Overlord Quetzalcoatlus and the Land Overlord Tyrannosaurus Rex, so in the end, only the Ocean Overlord Mosasaur was left. I hope that the invincible Mosasaur in the previous life's film and television works that could eat the Tyrannosaurus Rex like spicy strips will not let me down. Chapter 67, The Carp Leaps Over the Dragon Gate. Hoffman's Mosasaur. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. Western Inland Seaway. The afterglow of the sunset covering the sea gradually faded as the sun set, and a touch of cold moonlight fell again, giving the blue shallow sea a layer of broken silver color. Suddenly, the beautiful atmosphere was broken, and huge waves of shock came from the seabed. The mud and sand kept rolling with the seawater, mixed with a lot of minced meat and blood. The scene was shocking and the momentum was amazing. After a closer look, it can be seen that there were several huge black shadows fighting frantically. If Chu Xu was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that one of them was the white-spined shark that he had met once. Since Chu Xu's small explosion more than 3 months ago broke its jaw and burned its esophagus, the white-spined shark has been unable to hunt normally. It can only eat small fish and shrimps. It is not full and will not live long. So the two-lamellar dragon stared at the white-spined shark, which was at the end of its strength, and launched a sneak attack when it was not prepared, in order to eliminate this powerful competitor. The plesiosaur is a large predatory marine reptile of the family Plesiosauridae in the order Saurischidae. The plesiosaur family is named after its slender and flexible neck like a snake. It looks like a snake passing through a turtle shell, and its limbs are specialized into fleshy flippers suitable for paddling, which enables them to move freely in the water and climb ashore to rest or lay eggs to reproduce. It began to rise in the late Triassic period and spread all over the world in the Jurassic period. Plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs became the marine overlords of the Jurassic period. However, the situation changed. In the late Cretaceous period, the sea level continued to rise and reached the highest point in the Phanerozoic, which was 150 meters high. The high sea level allowed the ocean circulation to shuttle freely, and the tropical region transported heat to the poles uncontrollably, but its own temperature dropped to a temperature that was unbearable for tropical creatures, thus triggering a small-scale biological extinction event in the Cenomanian-Huronian period. As a result, the once prosperous ichthyosaurs and pliosaurs gradually declined and eventually disappeared. The remaining plesiosaurs also suffered a fatal blow. From now on, the late Cretaceous oceans were dominated by the powerful Mosasaurus, which shone brightly in the last tens of millions of years of the Mesozoic era. Even so, the plesiosaurs, as the former overlords of the ocean, should not be underestimated. The lamellae are the representatives of the late Cretaceous plesiosaurs. They can reach a body length of 13 meters, and their neck alone accounts for more than half of their length. They weigh about 2 tons. A lamellae may not be the opponent of the Cretaceous spurred shark, but at this time, 2 lamellae attacked together, and the latter was seriously injured. The outcome of this battle is already doomed. However, the mantis stalks the cicada, but the oriole is behind. The Cretaceous spurred sharks and lamellae in the life and death struggle did not notice that a huge black shadow, the real overlord of the ocean in the late Cretaceous, quietly appeared not far away. Finally, this life and death struggle is coming to an end. Under the attack of the 2 lamellae, the already severely injured Cretaceous thorn shark had no choice but to swallow its anger, and its body was eaten by them. However, the Cretaceous thorn shark's dying counterattack also caused the 2 lamellae to suffer serious injuries, and their physical strength was almost exhausted. Just as the 2 lamellae were ready to enjoy this hard-earned spoils, the huge black shadow that had been lurking for a long time slowly appeared behind them. When the 2 lamellae noticed it and turned their heads, they were shocked to find its existence. It was a Hoffman's mosasaur, the latest and largest mosasaur that survived, with a body length of about 13 meters and a weight of 10 to 12 tons. In the oceans of the late Cretaceous, it was a T0 level superstandard overlord like Tyrannosaurus Rex. Splash! Splash! The next second, the Hoffman mosasaur suddenly moved, and its broad, flat, vertical paddle-shaped tail swung. Its long, barrel-shaped body was like a fish coming out of its mouth, carrying a powerful kinetic energy that could crush everything in its path, and it rushed towards the 2 frightened lamellar dragons. The seawater was shaken and stirred wherever it passed, and deadly whirlpools rolled up. The 2 lamellar dragons that were in danger immediately fled in separate directions, desperately swinging their limbs and flippers, pushing their bodies to swim like oars. The Hoffman mosasaur also swung its flipper-like limbs, turned around, and quickly approached one of the lamellar dragons. Boom! The seawater surged layer by layer, and the bloody mouth of the Hoffman mosasaur suddenly opened, revealing a mouthful of nearly 100 sharp conical teeth of various sizes. Tear! With a snap of its mouth, the Hoffman mosasaur tore off one of the fins of the lamellar dragon and swallowed it into its mouth. The large amount of blood sprayed out dyed the surrounding seawater red, and the blood-colored waves that followed rolled and surged, like blood flowers blooming, shocking. Then, bite after bite, the Hoffman mosasaur tore off pieces of flesh and blood from the lamellar dragon, and finally bit off its slender neck, ending its pitiful life. After eating almost the most delicious meat from the lamellar dragon, the Hoffman mosasaur threw it away casually, turned around and came to the Cretaceous thorny shark again, leisurely savoring its taste like a gourmet. In the vast western inland seaway and even the vaster ocean, except for its own kind, the adult Hoffman mosasaur has no natural enemies, so it also has the capital to be leisurely and comfortable. However, sometimes when the Hoffman mosasaur eats too much marine animals and gets tired of eating, it can't help but miss the taste of those land dinosaurs. Millions of years ago, the mosasaur was just a small and insignificant land lizard, The cliff lizard, which was less than 1 meter long and could only feed on insects. It lived on land in fear of being dominated by dinosaurs, so it threw itself into the sea. Compared with the fierce competition on land, the ocean is also surrounded by powerful enemies. As early as the Triassic period before the cliff lizard went to the sea, ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs had ruled this blue water for tens of millions of years. But with God's mercy, the cliff lizard happened to catch up with a small-scale biological extinction event during the Cenomanian-Huronian period. So in the next less than 10 million years, the cliff lizard ushered in a great counterattack and evolved into a giant mosasaur, becoming the unshakable sea king of the late Cretaceous. It can be said to be a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate, which is extremely legendary. The hatred gene from the ancestors for land dinosaurs has been deeply engraved in the brains of the mosasaurs. If they have the opportunity to meet those land dinosaurs again, they must treat them well. Chapter 68. Big is strong. Strong is beautiful. Get ready to welcome your king. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. Another 3 months passed. Half a year had passed since Chu Xu started living independently. Every morning, Chu Xu woke up from his territory of more than 500 square kilometers. After a 5-minute walk, he rinsed his mouth with water from the 3,000-kilometer-long Missouri River. After another 10-minute walk, he arrived at a smoked meat base he had built. The bonfires here smoked and roasted pieces of fresh meat from different dinosaurs day and night, and the fragrance spread for 10 miles, but no carnivorous animals dared to approach. The little Cretaceous beast's home was also placed here, in a tree hole dug out of a tree, and it also served as a sentinel for the smoked meat base. If you don't want to eat smoked meat, then continue walking for 15 minutes to the vast hunting ground, and hunt the fresh herbivorous dinosaurs in your sight at will, so that you will have food for today. After a day of activities, you can pick a place at random, use the sky as a cover and the ground as a bed, and then fall asleep. Woody's life is so plain and boring. However, with the migration of a large group of herbivorous dinosaurs to the north, the prey on land has visibly decreased. Well, since the dinosaurs on land have all run away, it's about time to go to the sea to find fish and sea reptiles to play with, and then expand the territory to the ocean. On this day, Chu Xu stretched his muscles and bones, and his whole body made a crisp sound like stir-fried beans. The dragon body, which was 13 meters long, 7 meters high, and weighed 15 tons, stood up suddenly. At this time, his size was even more exaggerated than the Tyrannosaurus Rex queen he had met before, and he had broken the racial limit of Tyrannosaurus Rex. The wild growth of body size is not only the apparent body length and head height, but the most important thing is the internal body density. After a certain size, the apparent body length and head height increase slightly, and the actual weight will increase exponentially. The more exaggerated it is, just like the monsters in movies, TV shows and animations, which weigh tens of thousands of tons at a time. The scales like hard rocks tightly cover the body surface, and the sturdy muscles stacked up are filled with indescribable strength. Huge. Strong. Big is strong. Strong is beautiful. This is the best interpretation of the dinosaur tyrant, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Then Chu Xu once again stepped towards the long-lost western inland seaway. Small fish, shrimps, small fin dragons, and small sea lizards, get ready to welcome your king. Western inland seaway. At dusk, the waves gently hit the coast, and the afterglow of the setting sun fell on the sea, like a golden curtain connecting the sea and the sky, nurturing countless creatures. Hula hula. Chu Xu, who was ready, went into the sea again, exposed his huge head on the sea, and used his strong and powerful limbs as oars to push his body to swim slowly. The telepathic perception covering a radius of 100 miles was like an underwater sonar detector, automatically searching for all creatures within the range. In the shallow water, there are unknown small fishes with fine scales in groups. Whenever they encounter predators, they form a dense and spectacular storm of fish. On the seabed, there are sawfish hiding their bodies with the help of the mud and sand on the seabed. When small fish and shrimps pass by, they will suddenly jump up and swallow them into their mouths, and then restore their disguises again, waiting for the next prey to fall into the trap. The strange-shaped ammonites and exquisite jellyfish swim and dance at will, and the sea urchins, starfish, sea lilies and other echinoderms are colorful, dotted in the more colorful and magnificent coral reefs. Chu Xu also had to sigh that the beauty in the ocean is indeed better than that on land, and the most important thing is that it is pure and pollution-free, without the influence of human activities in later generations. Chu Xu swam all the way to the core depths of the western inland seaway. In addition to ordinary small fish and shrimps, he also saw many marine predators. Small spear-toothed fish, medium-sized protozoa, large swordfish, and a large filter-feeding fish. The Bangskun mainly rely on gill rakers to filter algae and plankton in the seawater. Its ecological niche is similar to that of whale sharks in later generations. When these marine predators saw Chu Xu's appearance, they also came to cause trouble with ill intentions, like bandits who wanted to collect protection fees from passers-by. Buzz! As a result, Chu Xu's dragon body shook, and the kingly aura condensed from the intermediate overlord's talent instantly spread through the seawater, causing waves. Whether it was the skulls of spear-toothed fish or the ferocious swordfish, they instantly blacked out and fainted, floating on the sea with their white bellies turned upside down. Chu Xu was naturally not polite to these marine buffets that were delivered to his mouth. He swallowed them clean one by one and converted them all into evolution points. What is that? Suddenly, Chu Xu noticed a series of unusual movements in the seawater in the distance, so he temporarily focused his telepathic perception in one direction, extending his detection range to hundreds of kilometers away. Soon he located the location where the unusual movement came from. In the middle waters at a depth of about 400 meters, two huge marine creatures were entangled with each other. It seemed that they were not in love, but in a life-and-death struggle. One of them was a lamellar dragon, a T1 level marine predator comparable to the Cretaceous thorn shark. The other was a tossed giant squid, a giant soft-bodied creature of the order ghost octopus of the cephalopod class, with a body length of up to 10 to 11 meters and a body length of more than 2 meters, comparable to the giant squid of later generations. The tossed giant squid has 10 tentacles, 2 of which are particularly slender, accounting for almost half of its body length. There are many suckers on the inner side of the predatory tentacles, and the edges are densely covered with sharp keratinized ring teeth. Once it is tightly entangled, it is impossible to escape, and it will also enjoy the torture of the sucker teeth like a saw cutting the skin. At this time, the attacking tossed giant squid used its tentacles to entangle the body of the thin dragon, performing a prehistoric Cretaceous fancy binding show. In particular, the slender neck of the thin dragon was paid special attention to, strangling its throat, and repeatedly wriggling and rubbing the sucker teeth of the tentacles, constantly tearing holes in its skin, releasing streams of blood. At the same time, the thin dragon also desperately resisted the death entanglement of the tossed giant squid, relying on its size advantage to make the latter quite strenuous, and it could be broken free at any time. This is a protracted war. The tossed giant squid has no other effective means of attack except for its tentacles. Even if the lamella dragon sits there and waits to die without resistance, it will not be easy to kill it in a short time. As the blood flows, the lamella dragon gradually loses its strength and becomes less and less able to resist. In the end, it depends on which side will give up first. What a quarrel between the snipe and the clam. Chu Xu couldn't help but feel happy when he saw this scene. Thank you for the gift from the Mother Ocean. Chu Xu immediately paddled his hind legs quickly, and his pair of forelimbs also swam in a semi-arc shape on the sea surface, swimming towards the direction where the lamella dragon and the tossed giant squid were fighting in a breaststroke posture. When they arrived above the sea surface where the incident occurred, the battle became more and more stalemate. Neither the lamella dragon nor the tossed giant squid was willing to let go first, and they tried their best to kill each other. Splash! Seizing the opportunity, Chu Xu suddenly dived under the sea surface and quickly approached the two fighting parties. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Who Cares About the Ocean Overlord? I'm going to fight the Ocean Overlord. Please read and recommend. The deeper he dived, the stronger the water pressure Chu Xu could clearly feel. Generally speaking, for every 10-meter increase in water depth, the water pressure would increase by 98 kilopascals, which means that for every square centimeter of area, the pressure would increase by 9.8 newtons. The surface water of the ocean within a depth of 200 meters was nothing to Chu Xu. But as he continued to go deeper into the middle ocean water with a depth of 200 to 700 meters, the increasing water pressure made Chu Xu feel as if an invisible big hand was pinching his body and squeezing it hard, and great pressure was transmitted all over his body. Further down, There was the deep ocean water below 900 meters, which was a restricted area that Chu Xu did not dare to set foot in at present. If he rashly broke in, his body would only be crushed alive by the terrible water pressure. However, there was no such deep water in this western inland seaway, especially after the area was greatly reduced. The deepest point was only about 500 meters, which was still within the range that Chu Xu could bear. Chu Xu quickly adapted to the water pressure in the middle waters and came to the scene of the fight between the lamella dragon and the giant squid of Tost. The two were so focused that they didn't notice the arrival of Chu Xu, a fisherman. Stop. Stop fighting. Chu Xu went around the back of the giant squid of Tost and found its head tightly attached to the back of the lamella dragon. He bit down on it with his bright banana teeth. With a snap, the soft head of the giant squid of Tost was like a soft candy. It broke at the touch of Chu Xu's explosive bite force and was swallowed into his stomach. Delicious. It burst into pulp at the first bite, refreshing and juicy, with full meat and very elastic. The rich seafood flavor made Chu Xu linger. Ling. You hunted a giant squid of Tost, evolution points plus 70. The giant squid of Tost suddenly died, and its tentacles tightly bound to the lamella dragon also loosened. Taking this opportunity, the lamella dragon hurriedly escaped. Chu Xu was about to give chase, but suddenly he trembled all over, sensing that he was not the only fisherman attracted by the movement here. Another click. The familiar figure of Hoffman's mosasaur blocked the fleeing Tyrannosaurus, opened its bloody mouth, and its sharp conical teeth easily tore the latter's neck, and half of the Tyrannosaurus body entered its big mouth. After swallowing half of the Tyrannosaurus body, Hoffman's mosasaur also locked Chu Xu's position through the echo of the ultrasonic wave. It turned out that the Tost giant squid and the Tyrannosaurus, who were the snipe and the clam, were dead. Then the two fishermen who met on a narrow road also looked at each other. It's really better to come at the right time than to come early. Chu Xu didn't expect to run into the overlord of the ocean in the late Cretaceous so soon. Should I say it's good luck? Or bad luck? The Hoffman's mosasaur in front of him was 13 meters long and weighed an estimated 12 tons. Its body was particularly thick and solid, full of strength, yet also agile. Its highly fluid dynamic body made it move swiftly and explosively in the ocean. Chu Xu was slightly better than the Hoffman's mosasaur in size, but being in the sea, playing away, he was restricted by various factors such as breathing and water pressure, and his debuffs were stacked. But so what? Who cares what the overlord of the ocean is? I'm fighting the overlord of the ocean. When Chu Xu was looking at the Hoffman's mosasaur, the latter also roughly judged Chu Xu's situation through its own olfactory organs. The eyesight of the Hoffman's mosasaur was not good. Anyway, it couldn't see anything with its eyes in the middle waters of the ocean where sunlight could not reach. The senses it relied on were smell and hearing. The forked tongue inherited from the cliff lizard could continuously swallow and spit out odor molecules in the seawater. It could also emit ultrasonic waves like killer whales, and determine the shape, size and exact location of the target through echoes. What Hoffman mosasaur didn't expect was that the creature that appeared on the opposite side, whose size should not be underestimated, was actually a dinosaur from land. Its appearance characteristics are completely different from common marine creatures, so Hoffman mosasaur was able to judge it. A land dinosaur actually appeared in such a deep sea? If it hadn't felt that the other party was still moving, Hoffman mosasaur would have thought that the other party was dead. But since the other party had met him, then this land dinosaur was not far from death. As the master of this western inland seaway, Hoffman mosasaur planned to do his best to be a host and let this land guest who came from afar be his dinner. Boom. The next moment, Hoffman mosasaur's thick tail swung, exploding a circle of waves, and the 10-ton giant body suddenly righted and slammed towards Chu Xu at a short distance burst speed of nearly 50 kilometers per hour. Chu Xu did not choose to confront it head-on, but swam quickly to the surface of the sea. Fighting with the Hoffman's mosasaur in this 400-meter deep middle waters was not a good idea. After all, Chu Xu's breath-holding time underwater was limited, so he immediately swam to the surface waters close to the sea surface. Although the Hoffman's mosasaur also breathes with lungs, its body structure, like that of whales, has evolved to be very adapted to marine life. It can hold its breath for an average of more than half an hour, and can last up to 1 or 2 hours. Splash! Chu Xu's swimming speed in the seawater was not as fast as the Hoffman's mosasaur. The latter approached quickly, pushing the water flow to form a stronger water pressure, making Chu Xu in front of him a little unstable. The huge mouth opened suddenly, and the Hoffman's mosasaur bit Chu Xu's tail. The bite force of the Hoffman's mosasaur was not much less than that of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and even the shell of the ancient giant turtle could be easily bitten into pieces. Snap! Exclamation mark. But today, the Hoffman mosasaur bit the steel plate. As soon as it bit, it felt that Chu Xu's tail was even harder than the shell of the ancient giant turtle. Not only could it not bite through, but it broke its teeth, causing it to let go in pain. Even so, the Hoffman mosasaur still didn't believe it. When Chu Xu continued to swim upstream, it bit his right hind leg again, twisting its huge body to tear off his entire hind leg in one fell swoop. Bang! But not only did the Hoffman mosasaur fail to tear off Chu Xu's hind leg, it also kicked it hard, as if it had been hit on the head by a heavy hammer. As its huge body retreated rapidly and drifted backward, its brain also fell into a short faint. Taking this opportunity, Chu Xu finally returned to the surface waters within a depth of 200 meters, and after rushing out of the sea, he began to breathe heavily. It's my turn to fight back, right? Start the second stage. After taking a deep breath, Chu Xu dived underwater again, staring at the dazed Hoffman's mosasaur with his vertical pupils. The second stage is on. Another new subspecies template card is activated. Tyrannosaurus mutation, Tyrannosaurus X. X antibody is a special vaccine. When a Digimon receives X antibody, its own digital core will change, and its all-attribute combat power will be greatly improved, making it much stronger than its non-X antibody counterparts. Wow! Wow! As the mutation was completed, Chu Xu's body expanded further, and the powerful energy that burst out made the surrounding seawater boil. Above the sea surface, water columns suddenly rose up and rushed several meters high. In addition to the changes in body shape, Chu Xu's mouth full of sharp teeth, bone mask, 3 huge horns, and claws on his limbs have quietly transformed, evolving from calcium phosphorus bone to real steel metal, shining with a silver-white luster. Chu Xu, transformed into Tyrannosaurus X, rushed over like a dragon. His huge body split a clear white line in the seawater, and his sudden burst of speed was even faster than Hoffman's mosasaur. After defeating the mosasaur, we entered the final stage of the Cretaceous chapter, and then we will gradually reveal the further worldview of this book. Thank you all for your support along the way. Chapter 70. It's lonely at the top. The peak of biological power in the late Cretaceous. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. The Hoffman mosasaur also opened its bloody mouth, and the surrounding body was stirred up by layers of turbulence. It bit towards Chu Xu furiously. This time, it was determined to make this damn land dinosaur buried in the ocean. Snap! But when the Hoffman mosasaur locked the target and suddenly bit its big mouth, it only bit the ubiquitous seawater. Chu Xu had already used telepathy to predict the movements of the Hoffman mosasaur in advance, and adjusted his body in an instant, passing under it at a high speed. With a puff, the steel dragon claws that were swung out brazenly pierced into the white belly of the Hoffman mosasaur. The sharpness was so sharp that it could cut iron like mud, not to mention the flesh and blood body. The scales on the surface of the body were completely useless. Then, as the body moved, it tore and ripped through it violently, with a force like a strong wind and a force like thunder. Rip! It was as if the sound of cloth tearing was heard. A deep and huge rift was torn open in the lower abdomen of the Hoffman mosasaur, and a large amount of blood, body fluids and internal organs flowed out. The red, white and yellow liquids mixed together, and the seawater around it was stained with filth and turbidity. Splash! Splash! Under the severe pain of being disemboweled, the Hoffman mosasaur twitched wildly, stirring up the seawater and shaking up the surging waves. Chu Xu's attack had not stopped yet. He did not give the Hoffman mosasaur a chance to breathe. He turned his head and opened his bloody mouth with sharp steel teeth, biting the base of its tail fin. The sharp and hard steel banana teeth pierced its rough and thick flesh, deep into the bones. Splash! The next second, Chu Xu suddenly turned his body in the seawater and used the iconic killing move that imitated the crocodile, the death roll. Bang! With Chu Xu's 360-degree roll, the entire thick tail fin of Hoffman's mosasaur was removed alive by him, and the gap was soaked with blood like a fountain. And this was just the beginning. Chu Xu, who could not use the fire-type ultimate move in the seawater, used the most direct and cruel torture, step by step to send Hoffman's mosasaur to the sticks of hell. After the tail fin, the 4 flippers of Hoffman's mosasaur were bitten off by Chu Xu's death roll, and completely turned into dragon stick. At this time, Hoffman's mosasaur had completely lost the ability to resist, and was barely breathing due to excessive blood loss. Chu Xu bit down on the head of Hoffman's mosasaur with his last bite, crushing its hardest skull into dregs. The only remaining vitality was like a candle in the wind, which was blown out, and it completely turned into a horrible corpse. Ling. You hunted a Hoffman's mosasaur, evolution points plus 400. As the system prompt sounded, the restless sea surface returned to silence, and the seawater polluted by blood and body fluids slowly became clear. Except for the body of Hoffman's mosasaur, it seemed as if nothing had happened just now. The ocean overlord mosasaur, captured. Chu Xu returned to the surface of the sea, restored to the form of Tyrannosaurus, and dragged the body of Hoffman's mosasaur, which also floated out of the sea, back to the coast, returning with a full load. The marine creatures encountered along the way did not dare to provoke them. They fled in all directions when they saw Chu Xu and the body of the mosasaur from afar. It can be seen that they still have some eyesight. According to statistics, Chu Xu also gained more than 500 evolution points today, which is not bad. The most important thing is that he has also captured the last ocean overlord mosasaur. So far, Chu Xu has hunted the 3 overlords of the sea, land and air in the late Cretaceous, and his record is brilliant. Back on the coast, facing the gusts of sea breeze blowing in his face, Chu Xu couldn't help but feel a little bit lonely at the top, with his hands in his pockets, not knowing what an opponent was. After hunting down the ocean overlord Hoffman's mosasaur, Chu Xu's main hunting target also turned to marine animals, and he almost regarded the entire western inland seaway as his territory. In a short period of time, the marine animals in the western inland seaway witnessed the birth of a new ocean overlord. He slaughtered many top marine predators such as mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, Cretaceous spiny sharks, swordfishes, etc. with thunderous means. The large amount of blood spilt made the seawater red, and the corpses were piled up into a mountain, which became the lingering horror shadow of all marine animals. After another day of going out to sea, Chu Xu captured an ancient giant turtle, which is the largest sea turtle in the history of the Earth, with a body length of 4 meters and a weight of more than 2 tons. Its temperament is also very ferocious. It can feed on small and medium-sized fish, crustaceans, and mollusks. Other larger marine predators dare not provoke it easily. It's a pity that it met Chu Xu today. It was not safe to hide in the turtle shell. It was bitten to pieces and eaten by the latter. Chu Xu now lives a 2.1-line life almost every day. He is not going out to hunt and collect a large number of evolution points, or eating and resting. Although it is very monotonous and there are no electronic products and entertainment activities as a human in the previous life, it is also very fulfilling. For wild animals, this kind of peaceful and comfortable life is the best life, and they will never feel bored. Occasionally when I feel lonely, at least there is a little chalk beast to accompany me. The latter is now familiar with him, although it is still a little shy and timid. Chu Xu just treats it as a hamster, which can be regarded as a companion for him. Time passed quietly between fingers. Long Mai and the others seem to have migrated north. That's right, the other herbivorous dinosaurs have already left, and they should have left long ago. This day was like usual. Chu Xu had planned to send food to Long Mai and the others, but he found that the food he had sent some time ago was still there, and it had been seriously rotten, attracting countless scavenging insects. Chu Xu turned and left, walking alone on the empty and lonely delta plain. I remember when I first migrated here, this was still a fertile land full of vitality and all things were growing, but in the blink of an eye, it had changed dramatically. But this is also normal. In the past 6 months or so, Chu Xu himself has undergone earth-shaking changes. He has transformed from a newly emerging Agumon to a Tyrannosaurus Rex that dominates one side. The land and sea territories he owns add up to more than 1,000 square kilometers, and he has reached the peak of biological combat power in the late Cretaceous. The 3 overlords of the sea, land and air have all been defeated by him, and he can no longer find an opponent in his time. Chu Xu's state of mind has also changed. In the past, he was weak, so he worked hard to become stronger in order to survive in this dangerous world. Now that he is strong enough, he can't help but start to think about the future. Will he continue to live the rest of his life like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, marrying and having children like other Tyrannosaurus Rex? Or will there be an even greater upheaval waiting for him in the near future? Chapter 71 If the ruler wants his subjects to die, they must die. The upper limit of youth. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. The sun and the moon alternate, the tides rise and fall, and another half a year has passed. The rainy season arrived as expected, but the scorching heat of the day remained the same, and even intensified. Not only the Laramidian subcontinent, but also the entire North America and even the whole world were suffering from the high temperature. All this stems from the famous Deccan Traps event. In the late Maastrichtian period of the late Cretaceous, a large number of volcanic eruptions occurred in the Western Ghats in the west of the Deccan Plateau, which lasted for 30,000 years, thus forming one of the largest volcanic landforms on the surface seen by later generations, the Deccan Traps. The Deccan Traps event directly led to global warming at the time, with global temperatures rising by about 8 degrees Celsius. In addition, the long-term volcanic eruptions spewed out a large amount of dust and sulfur dioxide, which affected the light and caused large-scale acid rain, which also caused a devastating blow to many biological groups, leading to their extinction. Therefore, the Deccan Traps event was also regarded by later paleontologists as one of the important factors leading to the mass extinction of dinosaurs. Just a few 100,000 years after this incident, the asteroid fragments seemed to be summoned and descended on Earth, accelerating the extinction of the dinosaurs. In this way, the extinction of the dinosaurs was an attack carefully prepared by Mother Earth from both inside and outside. First, a wave of volcanic eruptions washed the ground, and then an asteroid fragment was invited from outer space to clear the data and update the version. According to the famous Gaia hypothesis, Mother Earth is actually a living organism with self-regulating ability. Magma is its blood, rock is its skeleton, atmosphere is its skin, forest is its lungs, wetland is its kidney, and the core is its heart. Various animals, including humans, are more like parasites in Mother Earth's body, relying on various resources in Mother Earth's body to survive and promote development. Whenever the existence of these parasites threatens the health of Mother Earth, the immune system in her body will automatically work, using various natural disasters to eliminate the parasites, and even resorting to external drugs, such as asteroids hitting the Earth, supernova explosions, and gamma-ray bursts. Chu Xu also occasionally sighed, "This is really the king wants his subjects to die, and the subjects have to die." Open my attribute panel. Name, Chu Xu. Age, 2 years and 2 months. Race, Tyrannosaurus, male. Growth stage, adolescence. 4-dimensional attributes, strength 32,000, agility 30,000, constitution 35,000, spirit 33,000, evolution points 1,000, skills, dragon claw, instant movement, flame fang, flash charge, special moves, small flame, small explosion, super flame, giant horn impact. Achievements, overlord's talent, intermediate, telepathic perception, intermediate, fluid armament, intermediate, subspecies templates exchanged, Earth Tyrannosaurus, Tyrannosaurus X, next evolution form, machine Tyrannosaurus. Unknowingly, Chu Xu is already more than 2 years old, and a whole year has passed since he started living independently. After this period of accumulation, Chu Xu's 4-dimensional attribute values have reached the limit of Tyrannosaurus, which is almost 10 times that of ordinary Tyrannosaurus. And his body size has reached a new upper limit, with a body length of nearly 20 meters, a head height of 10 meters, and a weight that has soared to 50 tons. This body size is enough to compete with a titanosaur like Alamosaurus, let alone Tyrannosaurus or Mosasaurus. In addition, Chu Xu also upgraded the 2 intermediate skills of Flame Claw and High-Speed Movement to advanced skills, and the 2 Tyrannosaurus subspecies templates were all collected, and the combat power has made a qualitative leap compared to before. The only pity is that there is no existence that can be called an opponent, so Chu Xu himself does not know how powerful it is now. Ling. The host's current 4-dimensional attribute value has reached the upper limit of the youth period, and it is temporarily unable to continue to add points. Spend 10,000 evolution points and swallow enough metal substances to evolve to the next form. Finally, it has reached the evolution standard again. Chu Xu's face lit up, but this time the evolution conditions have changed. Not only does it include evolution points, but it also needs to swallow a sufficient amount of metal substances. It makes sense. The next evolutionary form of machine Tyrannosaurus is a transformed Digimon with more than half of its body mechanized, which has already departed from the pure biological dinosaur Digimon. However, the mechanical raw materials on machine Tyrannosaurus are not ordinary products, but Time Digimon. Time Digimon is a special metal in the digital world, which is a mixture of Time Digimon and biological data. It has both the hardness of metal and the flexibility of biological bodies. Because of the different purity, it has different colors and completely different performance. The main function of Time Digimon is to use it in the parts of transformed and mechanical Digimon. Of course, there is no Time Digimon on Earth, but Chu Xu only needs to swallow ordinary metal substances and gather enough evolution points to achieve the third evolution. Since we are looking for metal substances, we have to go to the north. Chu Xu thought to himself. The Rocky Mountains in the north are the famous metal mining areas in North America. At this time, it was the Laramide orogeny in the late Cretaceous. The entire mountain range was widely distributed with magmatic intrusions, highly metamorphic belts and sedimentary basins, and rich metal mineral resources were gradually formed here. There is no time to lose, let's set off as soon as possible. The asteroid fragment that would suddenly visit at any time made Chu Xu never dare to relax his vigilance. Even if his current strength was enough to reach the top of the creatures in the late Cretaceous, it was still a drop in the ocean and insignificant in front of the mighty power of nature. Only by constantly getting stronger can we have the capital to deal with unknown crises in the future. Roar. Chu Xu slowly stood up, his huge dragon body stood tall, his explosive muscles towered like a rising mountain range, and there seemed to be a sound of winds and thunder deep in his bones. With a casual move, people could feel the terrifying breath of sturdiness, bravery, and domineering. Wherever he passed, it was enough to make the animals within a radius of dozens of miles silent and scared away. Squeak! After hearing Chu Xu's voice, the little chalk beast sleeping in the tree hole also woke up and poked its head out curiously. Now it is much bigger than before, almost an adult. Even so, the size of the little chalk beast is still a huge difference compared to Chu Xu. Roar! Chu Xu quickly came to the tree hole, and just as he stretched out his hand to the little chalk beast, the latter flexibly jumped onto his palm, and then ran to Chu Xu's shoulder, with its mouth full of stored food. The little chalk beast didn't ask much, and Chu Xu didn't say much either, and the dragon and the beast set out on their journey north. Chapter 72 Tyrannosaurus Super Evolution Mechanical Tyrannosaurus. Seeking follow-up recommendation votes. After nearly a year, Chu Xu finally set out on a journey northwards, to his birthplace. Mother Long and Crescent Moon Luxing had already migrated northwards, and they were probably back to their original territory. If there was a chance, Chu Xu would like to go back and visit them. All the way northwards, Chu Xu gradually left his territory and entered the territory of other predators. As the owner of this territory, an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex smelled the breath of a strange fellow and immediately chased after him in a rage. But when he saw Chu Xu's sturdy and terrifying figure from afar, he was immediately frightened and turned around and ran away without hesitation. It was so scary. The other party's body was almost several times larger than his own. Just by looking at it, he lost his temper and just wanted to run as far as he could. Who knew that the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex had just turned around and wanted to escape, but strangely, his eyes flashed, and the huge figure had already appeared in front of him. The sudden scene scared the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex so much that he was pissing and pissing. He was clearly several kilometers away just now. How could he suddenly appear in front of him? Exclamation mark. Since you are here, don't leave. Chu Xu looked down at the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex from a high position. The dragon claws of his forelimbs seemed to be gently waved, but the air was directly squeezed and torn, making a roar like a dragon's roar. Roar. It was as if a huge air cannon exploded, and Chu Xu's dragon claws fell on the head of the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex. Bang! The skull of the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex could not withstand the huge force, and it exploded like a huge watermelon on the spot, and scarlet blood and yellow brain matter splattered everywhere. Then, its headless body hit the ground heavily, and the ground trembled, as if it also felt horrified. Ling. You hunted a Tyrannosaurus Rex, evolution points plus 200. With a random hit, 200 evolution points were obtained. Squeak! The little chalk beast on Chu Xu's shoulder was already used to this. Those beings that were so powerful that it could not imagine were as weak as ants in Chu Xu's hands. Chu Xu was not surprised by this. Looking around, there was almost no creature that could take his attack. He had just used two newly mastered advanced skills. Instant movement, through perception, lock on to a specific target, including living and non-living things, and can instantly reach the specific location of the target without going through any path. The maximum movement range at this stage is 10 kilometers, which will be further expanded as the proficiency increases. Dragon Claw. A fatal claw attack that combines speed and strength can greatly increase the strength of its own muscle fibers, reduce muscle inertia, and instantly launch multiple combos. With each combo, the explosive power can be doubled. With the improvement of proficiency, it can be comboed up to 10 times, and the power is superimposed 10 times, which can be said to be overwhelming and unstoppable. Compared with the previous intermediate skills, the effect and power of advanced skills are naturally stronger, but the consumption of oneself is also rising. Otherwise, Chu Xu also wants to use teleportation to travel, saving time and effort. After the death of this adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, Chu Xu took over its territory and unknowingly expanded the territory. Since he had to go all the way north, Chu Xu simply continued to expand his territory and earn evolution points along the way. What's the point of just being a dinosaur landlord in a corner? If you want to be one, be the king of dinosaurs who unifies the continent and even the world, and establish a Cretaceous dinosaur empire. Enjoy the feeling of being the king of the world and being worshipped by all the dragons. The further north you go, the more peaks and valleys there are, towering into the clouds, bottomless, forming a huge visual gap. After nearly a week of travel, Chu Xu and the little Cretaceous beast finally arrived at a majestic mountain range that stretched for an unknown number of kilometers. This is the birthplace of Chu Xu, the Rocky Mountains. With telepathic perception spreading out to cover a radius of 100 miles, Chu Xu easily found a lot of metal ores buried underground or exposed on the surface, including iron ore, copper ore, silver ore, zinc ore and even gold ore. Unfortunately, even if you have a lot of expensive metal ores, they are useless in this era. Chu Xu used his dragon claws to pick up pieces of metal ore, then threw them into his mouth and swallowed them whole. After evolving into Tyrannosaurus, his stomach has become like a furnace, and he can easily digest both flesh and bones, even metal ores, so Chu Xu is not worried about the dangers of metal poisoning. After these metal ores entered Chu Xu's stomach, they were quickly digested and absorbed. The metal elements in them quietly merged into his body, and the rest of the impurities turned into feces and flowed away soon after. Squeak, the little chalk beast on Chu Xu's shoulder, was also a little curious, wondering what was so delicious about these strange-shaped stones. It also tried to hold a piece of metal ore and took a bite, but it almost knocked out its front teeth. Chu Xu was really amused when he saw this scene. It took another month for Chu Xu to cross half of the Rocky Mountains, hunting prey along the way to collect evolution points, and looking for metal ores to swallow. Finally, he collected 10,000 evolution points and accumulated enough metal substances in his body. Begin to evolve. On this day, Chu Xu chose a feng shui treasure land and couldn't wait to start the third evolution. The little chalk beast was far away and didn't know that there would be a scene that would refresh its worldview next. Spend 10,000 evolution points, and the evolution officially begins. The familiar melody of the evolution song lingered in his ears. In an instant, the world in Chu Xu's vision solidified and fell into chaos. Time seemed to stop at this moment. In the chaos, a bright light shot up into the sky, reflecting a dazzling sun pattern above Chu Xu's head. This is exactly the pattern represented by the badge of courage. Under the shining light of the sun pattern, Chu Xu's body once again experienced a rapid expansion, and the metal elements accumulated in his body for a long time surged like a volcanic eruption. Tyrannosaurus Super Evolution, Mechanical Tyrannosaurus. First of all, Chu Xu's left arm, from the inside to the outside, from bones to muscles to skin, all turned into very hard dark black basic time digital alloy. With a sophisticated and complex mechanical structure inside, it has become an allo-mechanical arm with both tough and resolute edges and extremely elegant and smooth. This is the trident arm that Mechanical Tyrannosaurus has transformed and strengthened with the time digital alloy, which can be used for close combat and long-range ejection. Secondly, Chu Xu's chest has a built-in missile cabin, which is equipped with a powerful organic missile, ultimate destruction cannon, and the launch port can also spray out a high-heat energy wave, Gigastorm, with amazing lethality. Then Chu Xu's head mask and 3 giant horns all turned into metal, and a miniature sun pattern was engraved on the top of his head, shining brightly and dazzlingly. Wow! Finally, 3 pairs of flamboyant and domineering wings slowly stretched out from the ribs on both sides of Chu Xu's back, gradually changing from bright blue at the root to deep purple at the wingtip. The entire wing surface shone with a metallic luster, noble and dignified with a bit of mysterious and magical meaning. Chapter 73, Light Wings Spread. The World Tree Under the Cheyenne Can. Please read and recommend. Roar. As the evolution was coming to an end, Chu Xu could not help but feel a surge of emotion, and he let out a thunderous roar towards the sky. When the evolution was over, his ever-expanding body finally took shape. His body length exceeded 50 meters, his height broke through 30 meters in one fell swoop, and his weight increased exponentially, reaching 3,000 tons. Adding the mechanized devices on the half of his body, the overall tonnage was as huge as 5,000 tons. His sturdy and huge limbs could be called pillars of heaven and earth. The hair growing on the back of his neck was red as fire, and his 3 pairs of blue-purple wings were fully stretched out in a domineering and wild manner. His proud dragon body seemed to be ready to leap into the sky at any time. The mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex, which had undergone mechanization, not only had an extremely powerful combat power, but also had the ability to fly. Not far away, the little chalk beast, who had witnessed Chu Xu's entire evolution process, was so shocked that he almost fell off the treetop where he was lying. It couldn't figure out why Chu Xu had suddenly become so big and his appearance had become even stranger. Open my attribute panel. Temporarily suppressing his excitement, Chu Xu immediately called out the attribute panel. Name, Chu Xu. Age, 2 years and 3 months. Race, WarGreymon. Male. Growth stage, adulthood. 4-dimensional attributes. Strength 95,000, agility 90,000, constitution 100,000, spirit 98,000, evolution points 100, skills, dragon claw, instant move, flame fang, flash charge, special moves, small flame, small burst, super flame, giant horn impact, trident arm, ultimate destruction cannon, Yiga storm. Achievements, overlord's talent, intermediate, telepathic perception, intermediate, fluid armament, intermediate, subspecies templates exchanged, WarGreymon, Greymon X, next evolution form, WarGreymon. Every time Chu Xu evolves, he feels that he has ushered in a leap in the level of life. If the evolution of Tyrannosaurus from Agumon strengthens Tyrannosaurus tenfold, then the evolution of Tyrannosaurus from Tyrannosaurus will definitely increase his combat power by more than 100 times. After evolving mechanical Tyrannosaurus, the subspecies panel will also be updated. Leaping Tyrannosaurus, the evolution form of Earth Tyrannosaurus, can be evolved by spending 5,000 evolution points. Mechanical Tyrannosaurus X, the evolution form of Tyrannosaurus X, can be evolved by spending 5,000 evolution points. Ling. You have successfully completed 3 evolutions. The system will automatically update. Please wait. At this time, the system sounded another reminder. Chu Xu was quite surprised. He didn't expect the system to be updated again. He didn't know what new features would appear this time. 1 minute later, the system was updated. The system has been updated and the administrator's rights have been released. Administrator rights? Chu Xu was stunned. What was this sudden development? What is administrator's rights? Chu Xu was confused, but he felt that the direction of his telepathic perception was automatically focused in a certain direction, as if guiding him. Chu Xu felt a palpitation, and the unknown fog gradually enveloped his eyes. He was afraid that the late Cretaceous world he was in was far from as simple as he had known before. But no matter what, he still planned to see with his own eyes the truth of the world hidden behind the fog. Chu Xu shouted to the little Cretaceous beast, and the latter immediately climbed onto his body quickly. However, the distance to climb onto his shoulder was not short, which was a long journey for the little Cretaceous beast. After finally climbing to the top, the little Cretaceous beast panted and stood on Chu Xu's broad mechanical left shoulder. He felt a heavy and powerful texture coming towards him, which made him tremble with fear as if he was walking on thin ice. Hold on, get ready to take off. Wow! Chu Xu looked up at the vast sky and took big steps to run. The next second, the light wings spread out. Exclamation mark. Whoosh! The ability to fly has been deeply engraved in Chu Xu's instinct like a gene. As the 3 pairs of huge wings flapped, the large thrusters attached to the shoulders and tail also ejected high-speed gas composed of blazing flames, making a violent roar, driving his entire huge and heavy dragon body to slowly rise up, constantly raising the altitude, and soaring into the sky. Squeak! This sudden feeling of soaring in the clouds made the timid little Cretaceous beast scream, curled up into a ball, and tightly grasped Chu Xu's mechanical left shoulder and dared not let go. Chu Xu, who was trying to fly for the first time, felt very refreshed. As his feet lifted off the ground, the vision in front of him was extremely broad, and the sound of the wind in his ears was so exciting that a heroic feeling of letting the sky let the dragon fly spontaneously arose. Swish! After climbing to a certain height, Chu Xu shook the wings of life violently again, spread out his flight, swept over the mountains and forests, and rushed in the direction indicated. At first, Chu Xu's speed was relatively slow. As he continued to adapt to flying, the thrusters were fully fired, and the speed became faster and faster. The huge dragon body continued to squeeze and expel the air in front of it, and the head and tail formed shock waves at the same time, and a sharp sonic boom broke out. Boom boom boom. This also means that his flying speed at this time has broken the sound barrier. Now that Chu Xu's agility value has reached a new height, his flying speed can reach the speed of sound at the fastest. With a blessing of skills, he can completely achieve supersonic flight for a short time. Thanks to the little chalk beast hiding in the internal parts of Chu Xu's left shoulder in time, otherwise he would not know where he would fly to now. In just 2 hours, Chu Xu flew more than 2,000 kilometers, almost across half of the Rocky Mountains, and arrived at his birthplace, which he was very familiar with, Hell Creek Formation. Close. Chu Xu already felt that he was very close to his final destination. Finally, a deep and huge collapsed Cheyenne King appeared in front of him. Looking down from the sky, the Cheyenne King is surrounded by dense primeval forests, towering ancient trees, and rolling green seas. Such a sudden Cheyenne King is like an eye that suddenly opened on the surface of the earth, staring at the sky for a long time. Cheyenne King is called karst funnel landform in geography. It is a geological wonder formed by the long-term impact of underground rivers on carbonate rock layers, causing rock layers to collapse. It is also called the eye of the earth. As if to lead Chu Xu to find the answer, telepathic perception continued to guide him to the inside of the Cheyenne Ken. So Chu Xu slowed down and slowly descended into the bottomless Cheyenne Ken. Inside it was a huge rock fault like blood, as if it was solidified blood flowing from an eye. It's so deep. Chu Xu descended nearly 500 meters deep before finally reaching the bottom of the Cheyenne Ken. Such a depth can be called a super Cheyenne Ken. There is an underground river flowing at the bottom of the Cheyenne Ken, as well as many secret caves that extend in all directions, and in addition there is a strange sapling. This sapling seemed to have just broken through the soil not long ago. It was still young, and the roots and stems were engraved with special electronic textures. From a distance, it looked like pieces of precision-etched circuit boards, flashing fleeting light blue arcs. Two slender branches stretched toward the sky like optical cables, each stretching out a delicate leaf dotted with light particles. Chu Xu could not feel any vitality from this strange sapling. Rather than saying it was a tree, it was more like a machine. The world sub-tree was detected, the administrator's authority was activated, and a remote connection was being made to its terminal. At the same time, the system prompt sounded in Chu Xu's ears, which was deafening. P.S. The tone of the early and middle stages of this book is still paleontology, mainly containing elements of the alien beast flow, the creation flow, and the interstellar flow. When setting it, it used the digital world of the second creation as its worldview background. So even readers who have not seen Digimon will not have reading difficulties, and there will not be too much related content. Chapter 74 Countdown to the Asteroid Impact. Survival or destruction? This is a question worth thinking about. The world subtree? Exclamation mark. The so-called world tree. Is it the main computer in the digital world, the world tree called God? And the sapling is the subtree of the world tree? Is it him who guides me all the way? Does the fictional digital world really exist? At this moment, Chu Xu's heart was in turmoil. Buzz! Suddenly, the air trembled, and the scene in front of Chu Xu flashed, the space was distorted, and the light was scattered. It was like a drop of ink falling into the water, and then slowly spread, outlining a world filled with massive data information. Where is this? Chu Xu just asked the question in his heart, and a familiar electronic synthesized sound rang out. This is the internal program of the world subtree, and you are accessing it with administrator privileges. You can search for answers to any information you want to know here. Chu Xu suddenly realized that the new administrator privileges that appeared after the system update refer to the administrator of the world tree system. The existence of the administrator is higher than the world tree called God, and has the authority to absolutely control it. Does the digital world really exist? Chu Xu reacted and asked the most urgent question at the first time. The digital world really exists, but it is not the digital world you knew before. The so-called digital world is a virtual world composed of various data, and it is a subordinate world of the real world. The digital world acts like a recycling station of the real world. When the biological population on the Earth is extinct on a large scale, it will become data and be recycled by the digital world, and continue to survive and reproduce in the form of digital life forms. Their bodies are composed of digital cores like cell nucleus elements, skeleton wireframe models that constitute their information basis, and electronic textures as skin, so they are called digital creatures. The biological populations that have become extinct on the Earth have been recycled into the digital world? Chu Xu's expression was shocked. This means that there are various ancient biological populations in the digital world before the Cretaceous period, since the birth of life on Earth. Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, Permian, Triassic, Jurassic. They became extinct on Earth in the real world, but they still continue in the unknown digital world in the form of digital life forms. Chu Xu was in shock for a long time. Such a sudden subversion of the worldview had a great impact on him as a paleontologist in his previous life. This digital world is not the same as that digital world. This is a parallel world that is in the same time and space as the Earth, but in a different latitude. The two are in a master-slave relationship. The digital creatures living in it are all extinct ancient biological populations on Earth. If the Earth is compared to a computer, then each biological population is an electronic file. The extinction of the Earth's creatures is like formatting a computer, clearing all the stored electronic files, turning them into useless data and throwing them into the digital world as a recycle bin. It seems that they are extinct on Earth, but they still survive in the digital world in another form of life. Now at the end of the late Cretaceous, they have gone through tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years of development. I wonder to what extent they have evolved? Arthropods in the Cambrian period, mollusks in the Ordovician period, brachiopods in the Silurian period, even the fish age in the Devonian period, the giant insect dynasty in the Carboniferous period, the giant beast kingdom in the Permian period, and the dinosaur empires in the Triassic and Jurassic periods. Those ancient creatures that only exist in the imagination of later humans, such as Godzilla, Titans, and dinosaur people, do they really exist? So, will the digital world be connected to the real world? Will those digital creatures still appear on Earth? After a long pause, Chu Xu finally came to his senses and continued to ask questions. Since the two worlds are inextricably linked, there is likely to be a connecting road, otherwise this world tree seedling from the digital world would not appear here inexplicably. The solar system's revolution period is about 250 million years. Every time it orbits the center of the Milky Way, it swings between the two poles of the Milky Way's plane 4 times. This swing period is exactly 63 million years. Every 63 million years of the Sun's swing cycle, the Earth will usher in an inevitable biological extinction cycle. The specific reason is unknown. At the same time, the subordinate digital world will also be affected. The connection channel between the two worlds will gradually open. The world mother tree will sow a batch of seeds to the Earth, recycle the extinct biological population, and the world tree seeds will absorb natural energy to grow and grow. Under normal circumstances, the recycled digital creatures can no longer appear in the real world. However, if the Earth's biological mass extinction cycle is interrupted and the rules are broken, it is likely to cause violent turbulence in the two worlds, causing the connection channel to be completely opened. After getting the answer, Chu Xu trembled violently. The shock in his heart was beyond words, and he immediately thought of the current time period 63 million years of biological mass extinction cycle. The end of the late Cretaceous period where he lived was in this biological mass extinction cycle. Since this world subtree has descended on the Earth, it means that the arrival of that day is just around the corner. How long will it take before this Earth biological extinction event? Chu Xu asked again. According to calculations, an asteroid fragment with a diameter of about 10 kilometers is moving towards the Earth at a speed of about 65,000 kilometers per hour. It will enter the Earth's atmosphere in about 360 days and hit the northwest corner of the Yucatan Peninsula in the southern part of the Laramidia subcontinent from the northeast at a horizontal inclination of 60 degrees, 360 days. When Chu Xu heard this number, he couldn't help but shudder. There was less than a year left. It seemed very long, but in fact, compared to the tens of millions of years that the entire Cretaceous period lasted, it was as short as a blink of an eye. The nightmare that I had dreamed of countless times was really about to come true. Although Chu Xu had prepared himself mentally a long time ago, he still felt a little caught off guard at this time. What should I do next? At this time, there seemed to be only two choices in front of Chu Xu. One is to let nature take its course. It won't be long before the destined dinosaur extinction will come, and everything will return to dust and earth. It is estimated that even I will find it difficult to survive. Even if I can avoid the damage caused by the asteroid fragments hitting the earth, I can't avoid the subsequent series of secondary disasters and the collapse of the food chain. The same is true for Longma and others. They will eventually have to face death. After that, the Cretaceous period on Earth will end and the new era will come. The second is to do everything possible to prevent the inevitable dinosaur extinction, not only for myself, but also for my family, to save this last dinosaur dynasty on the verge of collapse, to turn the tide and support the collapsing building. However, this may cause turmoil in the real world and the digital world, allowing those extinct and recycled ancient creatures to come again, thus bringing about a new and greater crisis. Survival or destruction, this is a question worth thinking about. Chapter 75 My fate is determined by myself, not by God. If God wants to destroy me, I will destroy God. Please read and recommend. But Chu Xu has already made a choice in his heart. My fate is determined by my own hands, and if God wants to destroy me, I will destroy God. He will not give up his life and the lives of his family. From birth to now, he has been fighting for survival. How can he easily give up his life? Even if he has to open the Pandora's box of the digital world, Chu Xu will not hesitate. Anyway, he doesn't mind letting these extinct ancient creatures become extinct again. Fearless courage is the source of Chu Xu's power as a member of the Tyrannosaurus lineage. There are actually many ways to prevent this asteroid fragment from hitting the Earth. The simplest and crudest way is to violently blow it up, such as using a nuclear bomb. The ultimate move of mechanical Tyrannosaurus is enough to rival a tactical nuclear bomb with a TNT equivalent of more than 10,000 tons, and its power is not bad. However, this asteroid fragment with a diameter of 10 kilometers is larger than the later Mount Everest, with a mass of about 2 trillion tons. After entering the Earth's orbit, it will be affected by gravity and its speed will be even faster, reaching more than 70,000 kilometers per hour, which is equivalent to 57 times the speed of sound. The energy released in the end is equivalent to the explosive equivalent of 100 trillion tons of TNT, which is equivalent to the power of 2 million Big Ivans or 7.7 billion little boys exploding at the same time. If we look at the world population of human society in the 21st century, almost everyone can get a little boy. The shock wave of the explosion radiated throughout North America and triggered a series of large-scale secondary disasters, such as tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes, fires, acid rain, etc., which affected the whole world and were truly devastating. Even mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex was powerless to violently blow it up. In addition, the method of prevention is to deviate the asteroid fragments from their original orbit before they approach the Earth, such as using kinetic energy to impact them to deviate from their orbit. As the saying goes, a slight difference can lead to a great error. If the asteroid fragments are slightly deviated at a sufficiently far distance, it is possible for them to pass by the Earth. However, the specific operation of this method is too difficult. First, it needs to be carried out in the harsh conditions of space, where there is a high vacuum and microgravity environment, with ultra-low temperatures of more than -200 degrees Celsius and strong radiation of high-energy particles. Second, it is necessary to act at least a year and a half in advance or even earlier, otherwise a slight deviation cannot ensure that the asteroid fragments will completely miss the Earth. Third, there needs to be enough power to push the entire ultra-high-speed moving asteroid fragments to deviate from their orbit. Based on the above three conditions, there are too many uncertain factors in the method of making the asteroid fragments deviate from their orbits, and the conditions are too difficult. It is impossible to do it based on the various attributes and abilities of machine Tyrannosaurus. The most important thing is that time may not be enough. Is all this hopeless? Chu Xu took a deep breath. Among Digimon, Agumon always evolves first, and Patamon always evolves last. This is because in the face of ruthless reality, the so-called courage, friendship, honesty, love, knowledge, innocence and even light will be cruelly shattered. But even so, don't forget to be full of hope. Evolution. Only further evolution can win a glimmer of hope. Therefore, Chu Xu must hurry up. In this less than a year, he must not stop at the complete form of mechanical Tyrannosaurus, but must evolve to a more powerful ultimate form. After exiting the internal program of the World Tree, Chu Xu came back to his senses and found that it seemed that only a few minutes had passed in reality. Squeak, the little white chalk beast lying on Chu Xu's shoulder, did not know how much shock Chu Xu's heart had experienced in this short period of time, and did not know that a catastrophe was about to come in the near future. Chu Xu exhaled a long breath of turbid air, and his eyes fell on the World Tree in front of him again. He felt that he had established 1,000 threads of connection with it. Now his identity is the administrator of the World Tree system, and he has absolute authority to control it. With just a thought, Chu Xu can remotely connect with it anytime and anywhere and access its internal functions. And the function of just such a World Tree is far beyond his imagination. Unlike ordinary plants, he does not need sunlight, temperature, water, air and nutrients. His body is made of a super hard digital alloy of time. Chu Xu estimated that he could not destroy it even if he used all his strength. In essence, it is a supercomputer with a huge data storage capacity, as well as extremely fast data analysis and processing speed and computing power. In addition, the World Tree can also absorb natural energy in the real world. This energy comes from solar energy, wind energy, water energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, etc., as well as bioenergy, and eventually grows and develops from a small seedling to a towering tree. Every 63 million years of the Earth's extinction cycle, the seeds of the World Tree will descend on every corner of the Earth, absorb natural energy in the real world, take root, sprout, bloom and bear fruit, and grow into a World Tree. After the extinction cycle is over, the grown World Tree will mobilize its own energy reserves, generate a specific energy field, distort the three-dimensional space within a certain range, and return to the digital world, converting these natural energies into digital energy for digital creatures to survive. Because of this, the digital creatures in the digital world can survive and reproduce, and the mother tree of the world as a god can continue to rule the digital world. Digital energy is actually the evolution point. Chu Xu also learned a piece of information from the world subtree system. The evolution points he had obtained from hunting creatures or eating flesh and blood were actually the so-called digital energy, which was converted from biological energy. The world subtree has many more ways to obtain digital energy than him, and its efficiency is much higher. All kinds of energy on the Earth are its source. The seedlings are absorbing energy and growing stronger every moment. Unfortunately, Chu Xu cannot directly snatch the digital energy of the world subtree for his own use. At most, he can only let it release it. Then, if the digital energy converted by the World Tree is released in the real world, will the creatures here also begin to evolve? Chu Xu looked at the seemingly harmless world subtree in front of him. But in fact, the role played by the World Tree has always been both a creator of the digital world and the vampire of the real world. It takes advantage of the extinction cycle of the Earth's creatures and greedily plunders its natural energy. What Chu Xu wants to do now is to make it spit out all the natural energy it has plundered. Use it where it comes from. After learning about a possible crisis in the future, Chu Xu not only has to consider himself, but also his family. If he wants them to survive the imminent disaster, they must have enough self-protection ability and embark on the road of evolution. It is time for this last dinosaur dynasty on the verge of extinction to usher in a revolutionary change. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.